Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. I'm joined by regular co-host, one Mr.
Andy Conduit-Turner, and I am welcomed by regular co-host
It's Mr. Ben Errington.
Pointing my microphone at you.
Tiny microphones are back, although we have updated our microphones on the road scenario. There's a bus going, a city.
We are
Glasgow,
in the heart of Glasgow at Glasgow Film Festival, the special subdivision of Glasgow Film Festival that is FrightFest Glasgow. We're here.
FrightFest Glasgow. We've arrived. We're back on the road after FrightFest London last year. Now we're here outside the GFT. Someone's beeping at you because they know where you are. They've got us Andy Conduit-Turner. Can you believe it? It's not.
It's going mad. No, it's because we're in a busy city, everybody. I'm not getting letting this go to my head. But yeah, we're here. I mean, at time of recording, peek behind the camera, we've seen a couple of films, but we're reviewing those later. But now, we're here. We've met a couple of people. We bumped into Andy Edwards just down the road a moment ago as well. He's film here, custom playing this week. So, yeah, really excited getting into it, Ben.
Yeah, so Glasgow Film Festival is what FrightFest is part of. And we're outside the Glasgow, what would you call the GFT?
The Glasgow Film Theatre, the GFT.
It makes a lot of sense.
Like the BFG, but for a film theatre in Glasgow rather than a big friendly giant.
Exactly. And we've seen a couple of films. We're already there's not much break between the films, so we're trying to squeeze in as much as we can between that.
Betwixt
and squeeze out and squeeze out as much as we can.
Speaking of which, I do need a wee before the next.
Too much information.
We'll cut this short, and we'll see you in there.
We will. We'll cut this short. We'll see you in there. We're going to be covering 2 full days of films and reviewing them as we go, interviewing people where we can, filmmakers, stars of the show where we can. Maybe even catch up with the organisers if we can. Because we didn't manage to do that.
They were high demand in London.
Incredibly high demand.
Competition up north. People don't fancy the travel, so we're up here. Hopefully we'll catch up with everybody. And we'll see you.
Yeah,
it's very good.
See you very soon.
Over to you, future Ben and Andy.
Oh yeah, the much more attractive, I would say. Yeah. Slightly more
like a fine wine, Ben.
Right, a fine wine.
Hello and welcome back, everyone. We are 3 movies down right now.
3 movies down the pan.
I'm making myself lower, so we haven't got to take up too much space.
You can see my hand. You can see the hand that I'm holding the thing with. It looks incredibly unprepared. No, that's good. Let's get it.
Good. It looks like you're a professional outside broadcaster, Ben. So let's have a chat about what we have covered so far. So last night we arrived in Glasgow and went straight away to go and see the premiere of an Australian movie called You'll Never Find Me. Features a man alone in his cabin in a trailer park at the end of an evening.
Yeah.
And then a woman comes knocking at the door, and then we had differing opinions on this one, Ben.
Yeah, and I mean, it may have been because I was very, very sleepy. I'd been up since 5 a.m. traveling from Bristol to Glasgow. It was very late. Well, it wasn't very late, but it was getting late, and I was feeling a little bit sleepy, and perhaps it was a bit too much of a slow burn for me to have the patience for in that particular moment.
I'm going to recommend that maybe on a brighter, sunnier day, maybe you give it a go. I found it like a really interesting little character study. Like, ultimately, I feel like I've been ruined by a lot of movies and writing over the years. I maybe did have a guess of where it was.
It was a bit predictable. It was a bit predictable, is what you're saying.
I would say predictable. I managed to guess, but I think that might have been, that's partly on me for trying to guess. It was a nice journey. I think it was a really good character study, lots of depth to the characters, and for a little bottle, a little bottled movie where it was all one setting inside this tiny, tiny trailer for the most part, sort of hemmed in by a storm that's going on. Really, really solid work and lots of tension that was built. Maybe a couple of opportunities, if you want to be critical, to have cut some scenes shorter when the tension was at its height, but really good. I'd recommend people watch it still, and that was You'll Never Find Me.
I completely understand the fact that it was well made, the sound design was great, it looked pretty good. I just found and I think I said this yesterday without trying to be rude or inappropriate, it felt like the cinematic equivalent of Edging. How rude was that? It felt like the cinematic equivalent of Edging. And the reason I say that was because I felt like it kept drip-feeding little bits and never really giving you the answers. And I just felt like it was one of those films that when it eventually did give you some answers, I didn't even find it really that interesting or shocking or unique in any way.
Well,
and perhaps, sorry.
So as I say, what we won't do is we won't explain edging here. Do Google that yourselves.
Google edging, and it's not to do with when you get your lawn and make sure it's all nice and tidy. I mean, it is that as well, but at the same time, I just felt like it was going nowhere.
A little slow pace for your taste.
Yeah, but I don't mind slow pace. That's the thing. Like, slow pace can be good, but I felt like in terms of slow pacing, it was next level. It was next level in terms of slow pacing. So for me, it didn't quite hit home. But I can
a rare difference
respect.
Of opinion.
A rare difference of opinion. That's right. We're usually on the same wavelength, aren't we?
That's okay. We're takes different strokes and all that, but
different strokes. Talking of edging.
We moved on this morning and we began with
yes.
French language movie.
Yeah, a French language movie called The Soul Eater. That's correct.
Yeah, The Soul Eater.
The Soul Eater. Not entirely sure what that is in French. It did come up on there.
Manger de something like a
bit closer.
So
yeah.
Don't speak French particularly well, but really
you speak French, right? Don't you? Well, you did some French recently, didn't you, on the show?
I would be a many years of claiming fluency, but really, like a really solid. I mean, grim in a lots of places. Don't go for a sunny time, but a really good character-driven mystery. I loved the interactions between the two characters. You're a big X-Files fan, Ben. That was I feel that it's got a really dark X-Files vibe to it.
It was like a police procedural. I think in terms of horror, I think I kind of knew what I was in for. There wasn't really anything supernatural, although it did sort of suggest that at one point as well. But yeah, really good character study, some really great performances. Again, just the way the mystery unfolded was really good. And the dynamic between the two lead actors as well was good. I just felt into going back to You'll Never Find Me. I don't want to just keep being a dead horse here. But in terms of something that was driven mainly by two performances, I just felt like I was engaged a lot more this time around than I was perhaps with last night's film.
Yeah, I loved the mystery from that one. I love the direction it ultimately took as well. I think there's lots of ways it could have gone. I was quite late in the game before I decided whether it was going to be anything supernatural or not.
Yeah.
A dark and brooding movie for sure, but something that, again, I'd recommend.
Dark and brooding indeed.
It just came out of this third one, though, the third movie thing. Something that featured another mention of a soul eater. We just got out of a film called The Deep Dark.
The Deep Dark. I'm talking about dark and brooding, incredibly dark, set in a coal mine in, I guess, France. It was France again, wasn't it? In the 1950s. And yeah, this was a lot more supernatural.
Yeah. Some practical effects, some Lovecraftian horrors. For me, really effective because it is naturally set in quite a scary place. The fact that it's set deep underground in the mines, which, it's one of those things when you watch a film that's under the sea or in space where basically you just have a normal shitty thing happen in your work day and, rather than not getting those emails you wanted to get finished out the door, someone's been trapped under a load of rocks. Real bad.
Someone's been trapped. Have you noticed as well that so far we've seen 3 of identical injuries, which has been it's been a big, my bloody shin, my lower leg's been split in half.
Big day for leg breaking this year.
Huge, big day for leg breaking. If you're scared of leg breaks, so that affects you in any way.
And having a bone poking out of your leg.
Having a bone poking out of your old leg, that's pretty brutal.
That gets ever so
exactly, yeah. But yeah, in terms of creature design, again, not want to spoil too much, but it was very just practical effects and very H.R. Geiger in terms of the way the creature design was. It looked a lot like the space jockey from Alien, and it reminded me of that a lot. Again, that feels like a bit of a spoiler, but still.
A bit of Geigerish design, a bit of
lots of limbs.
Lore behind that as well. The Deep Dark, I'm going to make a bold statement and say it might be my favourite that we've seen so far.
That's a bold statement, but we've only seen 3 films, so it's not too crazy.
Yeah, early leader, but we're about to go in the next few minutes to go and see something called The Invisible
Raptor, exactly.
I don't know if you know me, Ben. If you're like me, listeners, and I know I am, I love some stupid shit. So this is
Wait a minute, who says it's going to be stupid shit? That's incredibly assumptuous.
I will eat my words if it's very...
Eat your words.
It's a very sensible...
Eat your words and eat your hat. What is the scariest dinosaur that could be invisible? It's got to be a raptor, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Invisible T-Rex might be the sequel. Don't want to spoil it.
feel like you could avoid a T-Rex if it was invisible. You'd see its big footprints coming in. You'd feel the the earth trembling.
Those
as the T-Rex got
those raptors creeping up on you.
exactly.
It was a very light-footed.
A very light-footed T-Rex, yeah. So we're going into the Invisoraptor. Of course, we will feedback and give you our review of that film afterwards. Looking forward to it.
I think there might be a Q&A for this one, so if we manage to catch any of the team, if that is indeed something that I've not just made up in my head, we'll catch them and see if we can get
of course
words to them as well.
Sounds fantastic. Okay, see you soon. Hello and welcome to the Horror Hangout with a new microphone that's debuting. Can you believe it?
No, I absolutely can't, Ben. What a wonderful interview experience to be the pioneer of this new microphone technology. Thanks so much for having me on.
It's an incredibly soft voice you've got at the moment. Is it tiredness? Is it because you're enjoying a lovely cup of tea?
I think it's a combination of the fact that it's evening, it's the late and live session that we're doing here now, so welcome everybody.
Andy Conduit-Turner's warm bath is what we like to call it. But we're here at FrightFest, of course. We have been enjoying movies all day. We've enjoyed a movie recently, which is called...
We have seen Invisible Raptor, and if you followed us in the previous section, I said I like myself some silly shit, and that was exactly as I predicted, and I loved every second of it.
Way sillier than perhaps I even anticipated for a movie called The Invisible Raptor. It's an homage to lots of Spielberg-esque films. Of course, Jurassic Park is one of them, but Sean Astin is in it as well. So a Goonies homage.
E.T., all these wonderful 80s pastiche like references and so on, which I enjoyed a great deal. It was a lot of fun to watch. John Crinan there, just heading back in.
John Crinan just passing by, a beautiful man, of course, and I'm sure he's going to be appearing on the show very soon to discuss.
John is going to give us a lowdown of the next film, which is Wake Up, which is a slasher movie, which is from the collective behind Summer of 1984, and one of my favourites of recent years, Turbo Kid, as well. So it came to a point there, Ben, where you and I had not eaten all day, so it was time for a little bit of food, because one thing is when you're trying to watch all the movies that are on just a single screen this time, and when you're trying to catch up with people in between, very hard to get away for long enough to actually get a hot dinner inside you. So we have taken a knee for this one. We may be able to catch up on it on screeners or something later on, but in the meantime, John and Daisy are going to give us their very capable and highly trusted review after we see that. But for now, back to the Invisible Raptor. What an absolute delight! Like, how much fun I went up and spoke with David and Mike, two of the stars, writers, like the creators of this really enjoyable film. They were rushing off this evening and they were about to put the next screening on, so we couldn't catch them live on camera, but exchange numbers.
Yeah. We are hoping, sorry to interrupt, we are hoping to catch up, of course, with the writer and star of The Invisible Raptor to get more, because I think we had a lot of questions for him. Some of the audience directed some questions at him, including a lot of the homages to 80s movies, Spielberg-esque movies, where they came from. But I had a lot of questions, so I'm hoping to get answers to those, such as where did the idea for the Invisible Raptor first materialize? And of course, one of the things that it seemed was very key was they wanted to save money on visual effects. And I kept thinking during the film, there are more visual effects in this film because the Raptor is invisible than perhaps there would be if you invested in a puppet.
I mean, no disrespect to puppets, but I love what they did with the Invisible Raptor. I think, as one of the audience members said, they could have saved themselves some money rather just than making a raptor invisible, putting it back in there.
Yeah. So what creature in a movie would you think would be even more terrifying invisible? Don't say any or all of them. I want a specific example, please.
Intangible Bigfoot.
An intangible Bigfoot. What does that mean?
So a Bigfoot which you can see and hear, but absolutely cannot touch. How do you even deal with that, Ben? Do you know how to deal with that?
I mean, I don't know how to deal with that, but I don't feel like I knew how to deal with an invisible raptor either.
You know exactly how to deal with it now for this, but we shan't spoil it. What we shall say is that when you do get an opportunity to watch Invisible Raptor, if the name alone doesn't make you roll your eyes and go, oh, actually, I'm a serious man for serious times, or woman, but If you don't, it's International Women's Day, then I'm not going to not include women today. Not a big old sodge, but
I mean, I didn't accuse him, but he still went there.
So yeah, I would absolutely recommend that if this is not a film that you are too serious for, and in which case take a look at your life. But I think it's an absolute delight, really lovingly made. And I think you would naturally be drawn to, if you see something called Invisible Raptor, you might think it's a Sci-Fi Channel late night affair. And it's not. It's far more tightly scripted. It's genuinely very, very funny.
Oh my God,
Not funny as in it's funny in its shortcomings. It's a funny script with really great comedic actors in it, and I enjoyed it a great deal. And very different to choose what your favourite is, because the films at this point in the festival have had such a big tonal shift. We've seen some very dark and serious. We've seen some really light and fun, like Invisible Raptor. But I can certainly say, coming away, when I speak to my friends who weren't there and I tell them things to watch out for, I think this one will be getting a hearty recommendation for a lot of people already.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with you. We've switched angles here, because it's hard to do two things at once. That's all. I know you're drinking a cup of tea, but that in itself is a task. Correct. But yeah, I recommend The Invisible Raptor. I was kind of thinking, you do kind of roll your eyes and think, okay, just by the title alone, it is going to be one of two things. And it was really funny, like a laugh a minute. It doesn't skimp on the gourd as many ways as you can imagine a raptor taking people apart. It does that. Some interesting invisible acting, not the actual actors doing the invisible, but pretending they're battling with various invisible things, like Elizabeth Moss in The Invisible Man. She did very well at fighting an invisible man. Now imagine that, but with a raptor. Imagine a raptor coming at you.
Exactly. I feel like not a natural fighter, Ben, but I feel like fancy my chances fighting a man infinitely more than I would fighting a dinosaur.
Invisible or otherwise, exactly. And Velociraptor probably the most terrifying of them all, isn't it? And I imagine it was a lot of fun on set. Obviously, we're hoping to catch up with Mike at some point to talk about this, but it seemed like would have been a lot of fun on set. And it got some real big laughs. It got like a huge ovation, like really heavy, like a cinema full of laughs. That must have been really nice. This is the UK premiere of the film. I guess they played over in the US already, but really nice to see it. And this is the kind of film that is built for a big sold out auditorium full of people to watch together and to get some really big laughs out of it. And I'm looking forward to the next opportunity I have to see that film. Yeah, and potentially a sequel as well. Not to spoil things, but it definitely was left quite open-ended in terms of
the team came in Q&A'd and they said, "Oh yeah, in the sequel we'd like to do X, Y, and Z." So yeah, I'd turn up for another one, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd turn up for another one, most definitely. And I'm glad I get the opportunity to do something like this, because it might have been a film I would have written off. Again, not because I would have thought Invisible Raptor, I'm above that. But I don't know, sometimes just from the title of something alone, you think your brain fills in the blanks and you kind of know what to expect. But it was way, way funnier than I expected. And yeah, some great cameos in it as well.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful like cameos. Obviously, the big one being, of course, Sean Astin himself. Not an insignificant cameo. Like, got some nice lines in there. Got some really fun dialogue. Like, very funnily named. I'm not gonna spoil anything for anyone. I think go in, especially if you have a love for these 80s movies and so on, the things that clearly the creative team grew up on. Then you will. Let's face it, if you're the same age as us, then you'll get a lot out of this one. Looking forward to seeing like what else this team does. Like Mike in particular, sure he won't criticize us for saying this. I'd say this to his face. Big independent horrors Ryan Reynolds.
Well, this was the thing. I was thinking, if you close your eyes, he sounds like Ryan Reynolds. And, Ryan Reynolds isn't my most favourite funny man in the world. Not my third favourite either. But I would easily... This guy, Mike, maybe 18th, has got a lot of charisma. This guy, not yet. Well, you've got charisma as well. But Mike's got a lot of charisma. And it was kind of great to see that on screen. And is it David Shackelford as well? Did you say David Shackelford?
Yeah.
His like lines are unbelievably funny, like outrageously funny. Some setups for jokes where you're just like, sorry, but then the payoff of the joke is like beyond. I won't spoil things too much, but there's a particular moment with a headless body rolling into frame.
Yeah, like again, no spoilers, but look, genuinely, yeah, like laugh a minute, and one of those really, sometimes you get a film that's lots of heavy laughs in the first third, and then by the time you get to the last bit, you're running out of steam a little bit.
And it wasn't like
really consistent.
It wasn't like a 90-minute movie either. Like it was longer than that. It was like approaching 2 hours, and for a film with a setup like The Invisible Raptor, anything longer than 90 minutes, you might be like, oh, it's a bit much. But no, I was kind of there for everything, every single act of the film, every single joke, every character, even when certain characters appeared very briefly and then suddenly became a huge part of the film. It was like unexpected, but in the best possible way.
Although I realised, Ben, that you didn't answer your own question. What cryptid would you be afraid to face?
It's a good question. I mean, to be fair, Raptor's got to be up there because fast, deadly, sharp claws, sharp teeth, whippy tail. That's pretty horrific. Maybe like some sort of werewolf. That wouldn't be nice to face.
Be a twist, though, like an invisible werewolf, or
yeah, I think an invisible werewolf would probably be the one that gave me the most fear. Actually, maybe not, because I feel like just seeing a werewolf would be the thing that scared me the most. So in a way, did you keep thinking, oh, it's kind of not as bad when it's invisible because your death would be quick and swift, and you wouldn't have to worry about the fear of being stalked by it?
Yeah, sorry if I seem distracted now. I'm thinking of all the other different tweaks on horrors that I could play. Oh no, Dracula, but he's got a mobile phone.
Wait.
Shark on a skateboard.
Shark on a... Yeah.
Dracula, couldn't it, if it was shark using a skateboard?
Well, if Sharknado's anything to go by, they can get anywhere. Dracula, but he's got a mobile phone. What would he use it for?
Call in like a blacked out Uber so he could come around your house in the day.
I mean, that's a good idea. I didn't really know what you meant by that. I don't reckon he would. I feel like Dracula is a technophobe. I feel like he's stuck in his ways. He's hundreds of years old, man.
Well, that's why in the twist of the film, it'd be so surprising. Because they're going to go, quick, get away from Dracula. This is how it do, because he doesn't know how to use technology, but this one does.
Bloody hell. I can barely...
That's a nightmare that never ends.
I couldn't even think about that, to be fair. Yeah, so...
But he can scuba dive.
Well, yeah. These are all great suggestions. I'm not writing them off, but at the same time, I'm like, well, scary enough. Let alone with the scuba diving scenario added. That's also terrible. Yeah, so we're going to...
We'll be back for more soon.
We'll be back for more soon, yeah. And we're obviously going to be getting John in to talk about Wake Up, which he's watching right now. And then, of course, we will be rounding things off with the final film of Saturday night and chatting some more about that a little bit later.
You'll love it to finish our evening, and then do a roundup before we go to bed.
That wasn't advice, was it?
No, please don't. If you're listening to this on a Friday night and your love has been getting right on your wick recently, don't kill them to end your evening. But there is a film called that, which we'll be watching. Thank you. I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to clear that.
Talking about Kill Your Lover, I don't want to go backwards, but in The Soul Eater, there was some interesting Kill Your Lover action, which resulted in people getting sexual gratification out of murdering their lover.
That was a almost funny but incredibly violent scene.
It was a funny but incredibly violent scene, and really well done. Yeah, so of course we will be talking about the movies more over the next day or so, and then doing some sort of roundup, I guess, where we do our usual thing of favorites, big recommendations, best moments, all of that stuff. Of course, so we will catch you very soon. Say goodbye now, Andy.
Goodbye for now, everybody. Cozied up here. We are here today, Ben. Second day in FrightFest. Looks like we're hiding from an invisible raptor right now.
Never know where he's at.
Yeah. So I'm here with Mike, one of the stars, the creator, the visionary behind, so that we can't see the invisible raptor that we saw here at FrightFest yesterday. Mike, thank you for sitting down with us for a little while.
My pleasure.
I certainly enjoyed Invisible Raptor last night. The sound of that sounds like the audience did as well. How was it?
Oh my gosh, it was one of the best feelings I've ever had. The energy of when you work on something for so long and you get it out there finally for somebody to finally see it, to hear that is worth it all. It's worth it all.
So first UK screening. You've had a couple more around the world so far.
Yeah. We premiered in Sitges in Spain, and then in the US we were at Mammoth Film Festival. We took home the Best Screenwriting Award, which was really cool. I got a mountain trophy, which is fun. And then now here in Glasgow Film Festival and FrightFest, and this is the coolest.
I'm glad. So glad you're enjoying it. And you braved the colder weather. You're from warmer climes.
Yes. Yeah, I braved it. I brought my mom with me. First time she's traveled out of the country to here, and everybody's been treating us with the most respect and kindness. I honestly can't believe how cool this is.
Well, I can stand by Scotland and say best place to visit. You're very welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
So when we talk a little bit about the making of the film, then one thing I wanted to touch on was, of course, in the film, the character himself, the character that you play, in fact, he has a hard time, apart from one very good friend, believing him that there's an invisible raptor on the loose.
Very true.
Was that mirrored in your experience trying to pitch this movie, of believing that this would be a great movie to make?
Very much so. It's funny. I had said when I pitched it to my girlfriend the first night I saw it in my head, it was 3 a.m., but she immediately said, hey, I pitched her the movie, creature feature with absolutely no creature. You'll never see it. And I want to do the most expensive creature, Jurassic Park. I want to do dinosaurs. She says, that's funny. Now fuck off. She went to bed. But then later on, as you pitch it, it's funny how a lot of friends now are seeing it. And they're like, man, I didn't get it. I didn't see what you saw. I'm like, well, yeah, I didn't either, because the dinosaurs are invisible. But yeah, it's fun to see people now seeing it and kind of understanding where I was mentally when I came up with it. Yeah.
And we were talking about it just before we started recording, in fact. Like, I think the mystery that I really want to be part of dispelling here on Horror Hangout, challenging the misconceptions. When you see the title Invisible Raptor, you might feel there's a place for these things, like a creature feature, an asylum movie, a sci-fi movie late at night. And then, if I may say so, I think the writing and the heart and the production that's gone into this is a level above what the title might suggest on its own. Just a really tight, not a novelty comedy movie, like a great action horror comedy. So, like, what would you hope that people come to when they see the title? What would you think they would bring to sitting down to watch a movie?
What I like in life and what I've learned is I set the bar really low in relationships and everything. I just set it real low. No, we knew that kind of going in. And again, like you said, there's a place for every style of film. So not knocking anything, but yes, there's a certain a different type of sci-fi sort of genre films.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll put you in that box. And I think that it's even cooler. Like this is the compliment that really means the most to me, that you about the writing, and that we did our best to put the love into the production design. Everything we could possibly do as first-time filmmakers, we did. We put love, every favor, everything that you could ever pull, we did. And we carefully crafted the script so that we felt like we really had something that people could connect to and resonate with.
And that love and the care and the attention, I think, is really played out in the really loving references you had to the films that you loved growing up. A lot of Spielberg era things, a lot of 1980s and early 90s inspiration that I think really resonates really well. And a bugbear of mine sometimes is when we have a film which is references in the form of lists, in fact, and none of that at all. It was really in keeping with the actual script, all putting it together, really nice to put together. And I'm still reeling in shock when you say it's your first movie. It doesn't come across with, apart from the enthusiasm and the passion, of course, but in terms of the skill of everything being put together, far beyond what I expected. I mean, I said to you yesterday, I'm willing to say this on camera, for me, the best dinosaur-related romance movie since Tammy and the T-Rex, which I say is a very sincere compliment.
Thank you very much. That means a lot to me, because I like Tammy and the T-Rex quite a lot. And, yes. To be a dinosaur romance adventure, I'm very excited that we're in that genre of competition, I guess, or family.
Yeah, I mean, please, Richards, if you're listening, do get in touch with Mike for the sequel.
Yes, please call me. We'll put you in there.
I mean, we're talking. So let's talk about the acting first. I mean, as you were on camera as well, and I know you worked with a number of actors on screen. What would you say is a harder challenge? Acting with an invisible CGI creature that will then be added in post that you will be able to see, and you have to pretend that you can see,
right?
Or acting with an invisible creature that you have to pretend that you can't.
Gosh, that's a great question. I will say, I guess the difference would be maybe I would have been looking at a tennis ball if we were placing an actual visual effect. To play with nothing was so fun because when you're an actor and you do improv and you do all your theater classes, a lot of it's the group mind, and you do theater games, right, where you're all doing connecting together to get the one mind going. Especially in improv, I did improv for 7 years or so, and back in Los Angeles, and it was always the group mind. So when us three as actors got to get together and find and visually feel the weight of, say, carrying the Raptor,
That was so fun.
and or laying down on the Raptor. So if you don't mind, I'd love to talk about that scene real quick.
Please.
So there's a scene in the film where the Raptor's sedate. I don't want to give away too much, but there's the Raptor's laying down.
Yeah.
Okay. And in Jurassic Park, we all know that the scene where he lays down on the sick Triceratops. Sorry, the scene where he lays down on the sick Triceratops and it's breathing beneath Grant in Jurassic Park. I wanted to emulate that and have fun with that, but it was nothing. And I didn't want to do cables and harnesses because we couldn't afford to even think about VFX and erasing things. So I was at Mike Hermosa's house, and I'm the director, and he had a couch, and I saw that the couch, I could wedge my feet under his couch in his apartment. I said, sit on this end of the couch. I think I have an idea. He sits on there, wedges my feet down, and I've now got my feet. I can't do it on this because he's too thin, but I've got my feet, say, downward. Yeah. So I got my feet locked in, and I think I can maybe do this a little bit. And I was able to put my body out like this, hold my core and lay on the roster. That's how I go like this here. And so when we were doing the film, we're doing that scene, and we're doing it on a concrete road in the middle of the street. I have my gaffer. I talked to him and said, I really want to pull this off. He bolted my boots into the cement with 2 ropes. And so when you see that scene, there's no wires. I'm just hanging out and floating over this nothingness. And it was so awesome.
So good. And obviously, well, add to this confidence, this excellent gym workout.
Oh, thank you.
You've obviously been hitting that core work.
Yeah, in fact, we're going to do a line of Invisible Raptor workout videos. And I'll teach you how to do the grand walk. The dance number.
Yes. My goodness. Yes. The special features on the 4K of this are going to be incredible.
So fun. Yeah.
So, we do, as with any good genre movie, we have a little tease to a sequel. That doesn't spoil anything for us, but
okay.
Where would you like to go sequel-wise in terms of, for a specific challenge, where if you were going to pair Invisible Raptors, one or multiple, against another cryptid or creature with a twist to it, for example, Dracula, but he's got a mobile phone now, or intangible Bigfoot. What would you love to see go against
so like
Invisible?
a versus, like a Freddy versus Jason. Oh gosh, so a versus and Invisible. Okay. That's a really great question. Let me think here for a second. God, you really got me on this one. This is a good question.
We're asking the hard-hitting questions here on our
Hangout. Yeah. So what I like to think of is what's the hardest and biggest. You know what I mean? Because in the sequel, we want to bring an invisible T-Rex.
Oh, my! You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. We want to take it out to our island new bar. We want to move out of Spielberg County, and we want to go into the jungles and make it a real Indiana Jones adventure, right? But let me think. Okay. Ooh. Okay, I got one. This is just what popped in my head. But what if we were able to bring back Lopan from Big Trouble in Little China?
Okay.
Because that'd be cool to see James Hong now versus the Invisible Raptor, and just having him go, Mr. Bats. Like, just bringing that guy back. I don't want to see him fully invisible, though. I want to see his robes and garb. You know? Just that, the robes and garbs hanging over nothing. With James Hong's voice.
He's using his magic to try, but he can't get it to work on his robes.
And then we'll put green eye lenses in Amber's eyes. So we'll have the green-eyed girl. We'll do a whole Big Trouble in Little China crossover. I'd love that. Oh. I'm a big John Carpenter guy, so that'd be cool.
Brilliant. Oh, what a good time. So, we'll lead in as we close out here. I mean, we've talked about some wonderful things. I really want people to be able to catch and see this. I know distribution might be under discussion right now.
Yes.
Where is the best place for people to follow? Where can they hope to see it the rest of this year if they get a chance to? Where would you have people watching?
Yeah. Okay. So I would say go to a lot of our actions on Instagram under @MikeCapes or @InvisibleRaptorMovie, and our team as well. You'll see like @JohnnyWickham. Our team basically. We put out a lot and try to keep people posted on everything where we're going, what we're doing. And then, yeah, that's the best place to at least keep in touch and see where this is going. I do know we got some more festivals coming up. Brazil is coming up in April, Fanispoa. I'm hoping big time I'm going to put this in Manifest Tribeca. I'm going to manifest it. We're going to happen. And then I think we're going to come back around in August and bring 1,000 action figures.
Oh, August FrightFest in London?
Let's not say too much, but let's just say we're going to hope for that too. Let's manifest that too. Because I want to bring you guys toys, and we'll sign them and have fun and come
great.
back out and see you guys. I want to come back and see you.
Mike, lovely to see you. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll catch you very soon. And everyone, keep an eye out for where you can catch Invisible Raptor. I have a feeling when we're doing our wrap-up for the end of the show, I don't want to jinx it. Don't know what's going to happen the rest of this afternoon. I think when I'm picking my films of the festival, you might be hearing more about this. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.
Hello, I'm here with Tiago Teixeira from the writer-director of Custom, which is just screened here at FrightFest Glasgow. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How was watching it with such a big crowd, such a big reactive crowd?
Terrifying. No, but it's good. It feels like it feels like the end of a long process, and it's good. I feel really happy that the film's out there, and that it feels like a job. The job's almost done.
Yeah. And a job well done, of course. Obviously, you've directed shorts before, so how different was it, the process from moving from shorts to now directing your first feature?
Yeah, I think as I said, I think I enjoy making films because I think it's a very collaborative project, and I really love dragging people into these crazy ideas. And the good thing about the feature film is that there was a lot more people involved and a lot more people contributing to the story, and it was a really amazing experience, just to share this world with all the cast and crew and all that. And I think it added a lot to the initial idea, and it's really amazing to see what it became in the end. Yeah, I think that's the main difference for me. Just the amount of people involved.
Yeah, so it seems like it was really like a collaborative process, it was. And it began an idea as a short film originally, didn't it? How did it become a feature film? Did you feel like you just had so much more to say?
What happened was I was trying to. I had this idea for the short film that I really liked, but I was having a lot of trouble trying to get the funding for it, and then. Well, I've been trying to get funding for other feature films for a long time, and it's always so hard, especially with genre films in the UK. It's a very a bit tricky. The industry is a bit tricky right now. And what happened was I fell in love with this idea for this short, and then I started developing into a feature film, but I kind of tried to reverse engineer it in some kind of story that we could kind of fund by ourselves and tell by ourselves, because it really felt like someone that we wanted to do, like basically independently. And I completely recommend that everyone that has an idea tries for them to try to do the same, with them, the means that they have, with the cast and the crew that they know. Like it's just to stop waiting for someone to try to finance your ideas, and just try to get the ideas to the right size and do them yourself. Yeah, it's a very good. It's an amazing experience, and you learn so much from it.
Great advice, of course. Where did the idea for the film actually blossom then? Because obviously it's a very sex-positive film. Yeah. Obviously, directors who've been mentioned already in the Q&A were like Gaspar Noé and David Cronenberg and things like that. Were those filmmakers as well that inspired you when you were sort of putting this together?
Yeah, what I thought was I thought that because I was making my first feature and because we had being completely independent gives you a lot of freedom to do whatever you want, basically. So I tried to pack the story with a lot of my favorites, references to my favorite, directors and stories. So there's obviously a lot of Cronenberg, some David Leitch. There's a lot of references to stuff that I really love. I forgot the question.
was asking you about filmmakers, but also, I mean, I do have a very important question. How many VHS tapes did you go through?
Oh, yeah, we had like, I don't know, maybe 50, 60. We spent a couple of hours just dismantling several VHS tapes. I have great behind-the-scenes footage of that.
Was that an upsetting process?
No, it was great. It was very relaxing because we found out a way to break it, and you can just hold the row of tape, and they just slide it to the ground, like very beautifully. It was a great experience.
You didn't destroy any classics, though, did you?
No, they were mostly porn films, which I thought like fitted.
Okay.
Yeah. We managed to find like in flea markets, just whole collections of unopened boxes of porn films.
Wow.
And we just destroyed everything.
You can pass on the address to me later.
No.
But Tiago, thank you so much, and of course, congratulations on the film. So, where can our audiences potentially find the film in the future?
Yeah, this is our first festival, but we're getting to the festival circuit now, so hopefully it's going to be more festivals ahead of us. But you can follow us online on the Paranoid Android production company from Andy, on our line /Blick Films. Yeah. And we keep everyone.
We'll do that, and we'll put links in the show notes as we always do. But again, thank you, Tiago, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be joined by Samantha Steel, star of Custom, which we've just seen here at FrightFest Glasgow. First of all, obviously, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. How was it watching the film with a huge packed out, sold out crowd here?
Well, I mean, it's the first time I've been on the big screen, and it's something that I've always really dreamed of. But I've always wanted to get into acting, but not just for doing like lots of different things. What I really want, what I'm passionate about, is feature film cinema. So I've done 2 films so far. My other film's not released yet. I'm in that a little bit more than this one.
Okay.
But watching Custom, I'm actually quite blown away. This is the first time I've seen it. And I wasn't expecting it to be so good, honestly, but you don't see all of it when you're there filming. You don't see the dynamics, you didn't see the music and the way it impacts, the special effects and everything, obviously. But yeah, it was just, I was kind of blown away by it. And the scenes that I was in, I kind of, I was just watching myself and I just couldn't believe it. Like, it's really surreal feeling, seeing yourself on the big screen for the first time. It's kind of amazing, really. I'm a little lost for words.
That's good. That's good. Well, congratulations, and it must have been a fantastic experience, and it seemed like a great reaction to the film as well, which is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing it for the first time, so you hadn't seen sort of any of the cuts or anything like that beforehand?
No, I've only ever seen the trailer the other day, which I shared on Instagram, and that was like.
And you'd only seen the trailer the other day?
Yeah.
Wow, so that's quite a jump from seeing the trailer to suddenly it being on the big screen.
Jumping in the deep end into Custom.
Yeah. So obviously we already talked about the themes of the film as well. Obviously, there's a very sex positive film, and there are some themes of almost like body horror, dream sequences, art house stuff. What would you like the audience to take away from the film? What do you think they should take away?
Well, really, it's a very interpretive film, like Tiago was saying. You can view it as what you want. For me personally, I like to see it as quite a unique hell loop. You've seen those films before where you would go through this kind of almost like an increment of discomfort, and that's what Custom kind of delivers. It goes through an increment of discomfort to a climax, and then everything flips upside down, and you start again. So it's like you're continually going around in this suffering, and that's what it's like. From my point of view, that's the way I took it as a very surreal kind of, obviously with dimensions of the Key of Solomon and stuff. It's it's quite deep, with that, and the film essentially has this time loop in it where you jump back. And I don't know if you noticed at the start when Jasper went back to Harry's and she was tending to his wound, and then they were having sex. That it cut to a shot of a crevasse sort of closing together.
Yeah,
I
did notice that. Yeah,
that was his wound closing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then he's just like, oh, it was a dream.
Yeah.
So it's like, Yeah. So it's a really odd sort of thing that makes you think, is that what's happening?
There's so much of that where it's kind of like, is it a dream? Is it reality? What are we supposed to take away from that? Obviously, you said you're in another feature as well. Are you limiting yourself just to horror, or are you kind of like in lots of different genres as well?
No, my last feature, it was like a Gen Z drama, but it's got kind of deep messages to it as well, in a similar sense to Classroom. But it's not a horror. It's kind of like a drama thriller, I guess. Can't really say too much about it because I'm still under NDA for it. But it's called The Flowers, and we wrapped on that. I think it was last December or January. I think around that time. So the fact that this was filmed and it came out afterwards, and that I was in this a bit less than the last one, it's going to kind of help with regards to like visually how I'm appearing through cinema. So I'm really looking forward to next opportunity though. But I wish I could tell you more about the film I did before. But really, it's really the main focus is for custom today. So.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in plenty more films in the future. Best of luck, of course, with your career, and congratulations again on Custom. Thank you so much, Samantha. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Hello there. I am here once again. It's what day is it even, Ben? It's Saturday morning. We've seen Mom, not the person, the film, this morning. How was that for you so far?
Yeah. I mean, Mom was very, very intense. I like the lions actually reflected on my head pretty well here. Mom was very intense. Obviously, a story that's kind of like about postnatal depression manifesting itself in various different ways. A very intense first watch of the morning at 10 a.m. Of course, we've just congregated. We're congregating.
We found like a little secret. This is like proper behind the scenes stuff. I feel like I'm at the BBC television centre.
Yeah, let's do back and forth constantly over and over again. But this will be all right. It was a very intense for a 10 a.m. Saturday morning watch, right?
Yeah, that felt like I don't know when was a good time to, really subject everyone to the hells of postnatal depression and relationship breakdowns, but still some interesting stuff.
Yeah, definitely some interesting stuff. Definitely like a strong performance, some interesting visuals. I think, obviously we've discussed this a lot of times, grief in film is very in. Not that it's never been out, but at the same time it's very in. Like there are lots of metaphors for grief that we see a lot in horror movies all the time now. This was one that I think it did it well. It was heavy-handed occasionally, but not too much. But yeah, sometimes it was difficult to work out what was kind of like a lucid dream, what was kind of like reality as well. So I don't know. What did you think, Andy?
For me, and I don't want to spoil it in giving this review. I think it's a really impactful story. There's a lot of like really serious messages, and I think some of those things are really well reflected, like the relationship between the two main characters and some of the extended family as well. Has a lot of interest going on with it, but there is, for me, come on through.
Come on through.
So I'll just say, for me, there was the secondary part. I had some of the issues that I had familiar with Smile, with Night Swim, that when you're dealing with these stories of trauma, I'm really hungry at the moment for there to be a way out of the situation, for there to be a more hopeful ending, and to show that when these terrible elements of grief impact you, that the outcome isn't necessarily inevitable despair. So I don't want to spoil it. I won't talk anymore about that, but that's
I think genre movies and horror movies in particular, like sometimes do feel like, the never-ending despair. It is the only way out, essentially. That is the only way out for a lot of people. There's nothing more than that. There's nothing less. And, it's difficult to watch, and it's a difficult thing to take anything away from. I think it's something that you kind of feel glad to escape from in a way, and maybe that's the point. But it's not always the films that last longest with me. Like, obviously, you mentioned Night Swim, and I mentioned something like Smile as well. Obviously, a big release, a film that made a lot of money, a film that now has a sequel on the way. I don't know if it's doing the work required to try and talk about trauma and grief in a way that is actually engaging.
Yeah, I almost find they're doing sometimes the issue injustice in the grim telling of them. But that might be another story for another time, Ben, because if I look at the time, we have another film starting.
I'll tell you what, one thing we will mention about FrightFest Glasgow is that the schedule is relentless, and that between films, when we're trying to interview people and talk to people, is
You've got to talk fast.
You've got to talk fast, and you've got to run. And,
Like Scatman John over here. Anyway.
Yeah, and exactly like Scatman John. And to be fair, like bathroom breaks, food breaks, you got to eat on the run. I think with FrightFest London, it was a bit easier because there was a bit more time between films. You could pick and choose what screen you're going into. This one, you gotta keep your wits about you.
Especially with
every moment.
completionists like you good boys over at the Horror Hangout are. So
exactly. So I think on that note, probably less interviews this time around than we did at FrightFest London, and for that, of course, we apologise. However, I will apologise. Don't apologise.
I don't
apologise. I give a fuck. That's the truth. I give a fuck. You get what you're given, and you eat it, and you be grateful. But thank you. Thank you. And thank you to Frank and Andy just for being a right hard dude. But we'll catch up with you guys soon.
See you next time, everybody.
Bye.
Welcome back to Horror Hangout, where I'm here with Federico, the director of the film we just enjoyed, The Well. A great return to classic Italian horror cinema. We heard it from the audience here. They really seemed to enjoy it. How was it seeing it with an audience for the first time in the UK?
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I had to go to a bar, drink a couple of gin tonics, just to relax a little bit. I was very nervous, but I can tell I'm very happy because I was waiting. I've been waiting for the UK release, and it's a big moment for me because I love the UK fan. I have been twice at the FrightFest, London FrightFest, and so getting back to the UK with a new film is very exciting, and I can't believe people like the movie so much.
Yeah, the audience here certainly seemed to enjoy it, and it had so many elements. So you had obviously the horror, some wonderful practical gore effects as well, and a little bit of humor too. There was some laughs, when things are going wrong for those characters when they're running away.
That is part of the, I really want to break the tension. Somewhere left and right with some black humor, very gory moments, spooky moments, so you can have fun in different ways. That was the purpose.
Yeah, and so, who are your, what other Italian directors are you hoping to follow in the footsteps of? Do you have any heroes?
Oh, yeah, Lucio Fulci. Above everyone.
And we can see that DNA here up on the screen here as well. It was wonderful to see. And as well, like for me, watching it for the first time, I mean, whether it was the setting and the gothic atmosphere and so on, I was coming away with huge, in a positive way, Castle Freak vibes as well.
Yeah, Castle Freak is one of my favorite films. Yeah, I was inspired a little bit by Castle Freaks, and also from the movies from the 70s, from the 80s, Italian horror. I'm a huge fan of the Italian horror. I grew up with Lucio Fulci, Dario Argento, Mario Bava, and all the masters. So this is, a mix between something modern and a throwback to the golden age of the Italian horror.
Yeah, and of course, obviously, even further into the past as well. So we've seen themes of, obviously, we have black magic, we have gothic horror, and I heard you talking about it with our audience in the Q&A as well. The evils of capitalism sneak in there as well. So some great messages.
That is a very... Yeah, it's a real message because that's how people normally do. They just think about money. I don't want to spoil too much, but even a good guy can turn in a bad one because of this money,
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for spending a couple of moments with us. I heard from you saying that distribution all over the world is coming, so...
That they're selling everywhere.
That's good. So we'll obviously keep everyone posted on the socials. We will post where you'll be able to watch it, whether it's cinemas, festivals, streaming, where it turns up. We'll share those notes with you. Thank you once again for joining us.
Hello, we're here with Lauren LaVera, the star of The Well, which we've just seen at FrightFest Glasgow on the big screen, which was super exciting. You were mobbed after that. How did that feel?
Oh, I'm honored that people care, really. And everyone's so lovely in Scotland, so I really have no complaints at all.
Okay, that's good. That's great news.
Yeah.
And of course, how was it experiencing it on the big screen with the crowd here today? How was the reaction? It was the first time you saw the film as well.
It was the first time I've seen it. The reaction was great. The crowd was great fun. They were all wonderful sports. So it was probably the best way to watch it for the first time with the crowd of people who love horror.
Yeah, I can imagine. And of course, have you been to Glasgow before? Is this your first time?
It's my first time. Yes.
How are you finding it? Are you enjoying yourself?
I love it. Like, truly, I mean it when I say Scottish people are wonderful. They're just some of the nicest people I know, right? Some of the nicest people I've had the pleasure of encountering, and I really hope I'm invited back. I didn't get to spend as much time here as I might have wanted to.
And then all the way back to the US and shooting Terrifier 3.
Yes.
The second time on set, is that what you said? That's correct?
Well, yes, I filmed a couple days, about 3 or 4 days so far, and as soon as I get back to the States, I'll have one day off, and then I'll be right back on set.
Absolutely amazing. And of course, Scream Queen, modern Scream Queen. How exciting. You seem very modest talking about being a modern day Scream Queen in there, but how does it feel? Because it must feel like a whirlwind.
You know what? It's Scream Queen is it's a lovely title to have. I just don't know if I feel it yet. I'm honored that people think that of me. It's just I still feel very new, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how long it lasts.
How did it feel seeing people dressed as you for Halloween? Because I saw a lot of people dressed as your character from Terrifier 2. How did that feel?
That's some of my favorite experiences. I get really emotional when I see tattoos, people dressed like Sienna, even art. It's really such an honor, again, that people care and they go through such effort to put the costume together because it's not an easy costume. So I'm honored, to say the least.
Absolutely. I did have one more question. You wore some lovely hats in that film. I wanted to know if they're from your personal collection or if those hats were given to you for the film especially. Because it was set in the 90s as well, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. There were some items of clothing that I wanted to buy from the set, like the vest she wears in the first scene. But unfortunately, it belonged to the costume designer. But none of the clothes were mine. I cannot dress myself that well. But I would have bought most of the costumes if I could have. But unfortunately,
well, thank you so much, Laura, for joining us. And, of course, congratulations on the well. Enjoy the rest of the festival. Thank you.
Hello again. Now, Saturday evening on Horror Hangout here at FrightFest Glasgow. I am here with Paul and Charlie, director and one of the stars of All You Need Is Death, the film that we've just watched on the big screen behind me. You will do better justice at describing it than I would.
I'd like to hear what you make of it.
Oh, in that case, now I'm on the spot here. I would say an Irish folk horror, almost, what's the word? Almost like an eldritch background to it as well. Like, I had a great time watching it. How about you, though? Well, I mean, tell me about your experience making it.
Well, it was a very difficult experience, but it was a very fun experience. We had an amazing crew working for almost nothing, but everybody believed in it. And, the actors, everybody brought all the cliches of independent filmmaking. Everybody brought 110%. It was difficult, but fun. It was actually more difficult, the aftermath. When you finish and then waiting to get it out is the most difficult part. And now it's out. I feel very happy.
And now you're here, festivals. What did you make of the audience reaction tonight?
Oh, God, it was so great. I mean, I genuinely felt that, I was so happy when I heard that it was going to be premiered in Glasgow because it's an Irish film. And I thought, next to the Irish, the next set of people who are going to get this are the Scottish. There's a shared cultural background, a shared language. There's a lot of stuff that we have in common. And, I felt that in the audience. People got it. They got the background, the folklore, the love of ballads, and the scariness about it.
Some wonderful moments of terror in there and some really tense scenes as well. I mean, no spoilers. People watching, you should just go and watch it for yourselves when it's available. But, Charlie, we got some great acting for you. I was very surprised to hear you talk in your regular voice when we met you after the thing. So you did some lovely accent work. How did you find that voice when you were doing your preparation?
Well, initially, Paul said that he was Eastern European with a stutter. And I said, Paul, can we lose one of them? I said, can we just do Eastern European or just a stutter? And he gave me a legitimate reason why it's very important, which I won't say for spoilers. So once I knew I was doing it and I knew I had to do it, I was actually moving house and the guy who was helping me move was Ukrainian-Hungarian. And I secretly recorded him, like the movie. And I used to listen to him before each take. And he used to talk about his ex-wife. So I'd be listening right before the thing. I'd be like, my ex-wife is doing it. So anyway, that's how I learned how to do the accent. And I hope it came together.
So listed on GDPR after that. You can't be surreptitiously surreptitiously recording people in a film about surreptitiously recording.
He gave me a bit consent.
Okay. Consent received, everyone. GDPR people, please get off our back if you are listening. We know that we'll have to move on shortly, so there's one more film to screen tonight. So Paul, Charlie, thank you so much for spending a few moments with us. Everyone else watching, we will post in the show notes where you can be catching All You Need Is Death in the coming weeks. We're talking about it all in our roundups very soon as well. So watch out for more soon. Thanks for now, everybody. Thank you very much. Hello again, everybody. We are back at Conduit-Turner Studios the day after FrightFest Glasgow has concluded. We did a little interview with a friend of the show, John Crinan himself, the other day, but out in the wilds, had a little bit of a tech malfunction. No one pulled Janet Jackson's top down, but a microphone didn't record anything. So we've taken him out for a Sunday dinner, and now
It's been lovely.
we're here to get his take on a couple of the movies that we saw.
That's just a bit of residual background. Yeah, I think that's nice. Yeah,
Axel is
it.
also here. So, John, what was your overall FrightFest Glasgow experience this year?
Yeah, now I can talk about it with a little bit more authority because I've actually done the
You've
whole
completed
thing.
it.
Yeah, we squeezed in. 5 minutes between screenings last night. That was where we lost audio on my Instagram actually, but that's now a lost scene because I've been like behind the scenes. This is going to hit the horror hangout feeds at some point. It never is now. That's just going to be this.
We'll keep the pictures in.
Yeah, get pictures. FrightFest was a blast, and we're still coming down from it now. Or I am. It's that way when you get to bed after a really long day, and there's been 2 very long days that we've had with FrightFest, plus a Thursday night right at the start. And you need, even though you're exhausted, you still need an hour to just come down from it before your body's going to shut down. Yeah, and I'm feeling that honestly right now. I'm still kind of like reeling in the best way from it, but it was great. It was really, really good. It was my first time at FrightFest Glasgow, despite being Scottish, despite it being on my home turf. I'd never been. I'd only been to the London. And did you ask me about films or just my overall experience?
Overall experience.
Yeah.
This is good. This is good stuff.
Very positive.
Very positive. Yeah, wonderful times. Well, we have a couple of films that we didn't catch because at some point Ben and I got a bit hungry and had to go and get some food. And then last night we had to miss the very last film. Otherwise, we won't get home till 4 a.m. So, The Real Horrors of Admin. So we missed 2 films. The first one of which I would like you, because you flew the flag for us. So the first one of which, can you tell us a little bit about your experience watching Wake Up?
I can indeed. Yeah, Wake Up is a movie about some activists who spend the night in basically IKEA. I mentioned on our lost scenes that it was yet another in the growing subgenre of IKEA horror, along with the book horror store and this.
Other Scandinavian furniture companies are not available, actually. I was going to say they are.
I don't know if they are.
They're free. Like, what?
They hang out in an IKEA. Essentially, it's called something else. I don't remember what it was called. Overnight, and they cause some trouble. They cause a bit of a ruckus, and there's a sort of overzealous, survivalist type security guard who does not take kindly to their presence, and it basically becomes an IKEA slasher. And I thought it was a lot of fun. It's very fast paced. I'm not super familiar with the filmmaker's previous works. I know they've done a few. They did that summer of 84?
84, and they're the same collective that's behind one of my favorites. They were behind summer of 84, which mixed about. I think it had some good takes to it, but they're also the collective behind Turbo Kid, which I really liked.
I haven't seen it, and I feel I've got to correct this. So I've seen Summer of 84, which I liked, and it's sort of Stranger Things-esque type thing. Anyway, I'm not super familiar because I haven't seen Turbo Kid. So I can't comment to where this sort of falls or how similar to that it is. But it's fast-paced, it's fun, it's really competently made. Like, you can't fault anything. It's a good little picture, but it's a bit divisive because I've spoken to a few people after the screening, and they didn't have such a good time with it. But some people, it's been their top film. I don't think it's not my top film. We'll maybe get to what my top film is at some point. But it is a fun
it's a fun little IKEA slasher.
Were the kills good at least? I know you said something about the characters being like despicable, but like in the best possible way, or
Oh yeah, I think I said that in my Lost scene, didn't we? Or did I say that tonight?
Yeah, I think so.
Wasn't that one of the divisive pieces that a lot of people said that they weren't sure who to root for in this movie?
Yeah, I think personally there is no one to root for in this film. Everyone is annoying. Everyone is maybe despicable is not quite the right word, but you're just not really going to get on with
no
anyone.
redeeming features,
Maybe
no
not.
redeeming qualities.
Maybe, but I mean, are the activists redeemable? I don't know. I just know that there wasn't anyone in the film that I particularly liked. There was no one that I was rooting for, let's say that. And
Even the slasher?
yeah, not really. But I actually don't think that's a bad thing. In a slasher, I kind of think it's good because you can just sit back and enjoy watching all these people, all these characters that you don't particularly like, just get picked up one by one. To me, that's a good quality of a slasher. To other people sitting watching a movie for 90 minutes or whatever with people that they don't particularly like spending time with, not so good.
Was there anything unique to IKEA or a similar store that was involved in the kills? Was anyone choked to death on meatballs? Or had a flat pack furniture collapse and crushed their
Yeah,
probably leg?
well, the security, there are some pretty fun kills, I think. The security guard is sort of this, like, I described him as a sort of survivalist guy. He's kind of obsessed with, like, whittling his own weapons and stuff like that. That's where we see him at the start in the security room. He's got, like, sticks that he takes out and he fashions things. But he goes off into the IKEA storeroom and starts, like, picking apart flat pack furniture and finding, like, chair legs as spikes and making booby traps and stuff like that. It's fun. I think it's a fun movie. I didn't think, just on the subject of fun kills, and I know we're not really talking about this movie, but it wasn't as fun as, like, the kills in the well, if we can say that. Like, those are more my cup of tea because they're very practical, very, like, practical effects driven. But it's a good,
There's no problem. There's no problem moving on to talk about the well then, because I know we were going to talk about the films that you missed, but of course you enjoyed the well.
We're all enjoyed the well. Let's do the well together now.
Oh yeah, have you not spoken about the well yet?
Not
in
yet.
your
We can
recordings?
do it in one go while you're already here.
Gosh,
It's a bit like you're in a horror time loop movie, in which case chronology's all over the place. That's fine, everybody. Just go with it. You're like in a Lynch movie. So let's talk about the well. Giallo filmmaking reborn, can we say?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a hark back to earlier Italian cinema specifically. Someone, I think I said to you guys afterwards, and we were all in the Q&A afterwards, after the screening, someone said to the director and star, they really don't make films like this anymore, so thank you. And I sort of share that sentiment. It does feel like a bit of a callback to the classic movies that I grew up with, certainly, and enjoyed and loved.
Yeah, for me, and I said this live, I think, to you, John, certainly, my only takeaway from that true Giallo energy is they've gone for a more realistic blood colour. There's none of the absolute lipstick fire engine red that we used to get in those old Argento movies in particular. But the practical kills we have there, the setting, like the medieval castle. I think I said to the director in our interview with him that, and we'll slice us to at some point, big castle freak energy, I think, as well.
Yeah, it's a good reference.
And Castle Creek is in Italy as well, right?
Yeah.
It is. Okay.
Oh.
That's part of it. Wow, indeed. I kind of felt like there was a whole section of the film that I was less interested in. Follow that was the underground well section. Again, not spoiling anything major. I wanted to spend more time with Lauren LaVera in the castle, doing what she was doing to the painting. What she did?
She was restoring the painting.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And sorry to talk over you.
No.
But I actually loved that story. I don't want to stray too far into spoilers, but I don't think this is at all spoilerific. Like, I love that story structure of a sort of, because she's restoring a painting. She is that has been caked in soot or something, so you cannot see the picture that's on it, and that is her purpose for being at Castle Freak. And she is, and she's kind of, I don't know what like revealing the painting, and it makes for a really nice sort of fog of war story structure type thing that as she reveals more of the painting, she interacts with some of the characters that are in the painting. Is that? I hope that's not a spoiler. And I think that's a really fun. I dug that quite a lot. Like, you know,
it was very hammy. There was some questionable acting, but maybe that comes with the territory in terms of like the kind of film it was supposed to be. And again, not spoiling anything, but an ending, sort of like a flash into the future, which was quite. We said it definitely had Resident Evil energy, in a way. But yeah, I think the practical effects were great. The creature design was pretty good. I thought that was very effective. So yeah, I think overall, it's. I think there were definitely times during the film where I was like, not feeling this real, not really feeling it. But I think, as you mentioned, the final 20 minutes.
Embrace the ridiculousness. And when it all starts coming apart in the last 20 minutes, there were some bits where there is a black comedy to it. Like there is a bit where there is a character that has almost a victorious moment. So I've done it, and then they immediately slip over, and I literally sat forward in my chair. I was like, fuck's sake. can't catch a break. Can't catch a break. This one, like, obviously, my only other disappointment that I will say is that with all that revealing of the picture, can you imagine if she'd got to that final corner, there's a little man in a red and white stripy jumper. He's just there. Fucking found him. There he is. That's what those forces of darkness needed all along. I mean, that's the little bonus where I think, John, you're the perfect person to have us on to cover that as well. We will have either in the past or in the future cut to interviews with both director and star of that movie, Lauren LaVera. Like,
yes,
so
very exciting.
Really, really nice to meet the team behind it as well. I'm like really passionate about the job as well. I think like you both said, like not all of the acting up to the standard there, but there's a bit of a delta between some of the different performances we get there. But there are some really strong performances in there too, for sure.
Everyone is giving their all, for sure.
Yeah, everyone's really going for it. But the last thing we want to talk to you about, John, and technically the last straw, the last film that it was the last straw for me and Ben. We had to catch a train. How was your last straw?
Yeah. Well, that was the film that we shot the Lost scene in as well, or just before.
Yeah, it was dashing in to see it, right?
I had literally it's probably for the best that we lost that, actually, because I had wolfed down a snack, like a box of pre-packaged Tesco sushi or something.
Sushi like
because the whole
no one heartburn where you're trying to deliver your best
I
movie
gave myself hiccups. I was kind of suffering through some hiccups in that one as well. It was probably for the best that we lost it. But just after we recorded that, you guys ran off, and I went in to see the last straw. It is the last straw, right?
I think
it's not the final straw.
Is it?
I think it's just last straw.
Okay, I believe.
This is a thing that happens.
He's not convinced.
This is a thing that happens at film festivals. And I'm sorry. I think he's right now. I think it is last straw. This is a thing that happens. It's not a comment on the quality of the film. You just see so many, and it's such a relentless schedule. And we really are just, this is the next day. And we're going to get the answer.
Do you know the answer?
It's last straw.
It is last.
It is last straw.
That's what I said.
Okay. There's no way to know.
That's my bad. That's my bad.
Because I think when you do sit through all these films, like there are certain films that you're probably going to have more patience for in a different environment. I feel like if you've been watching films back to back to back, you're more likely to get like maybe a little bit jaded by certain films than perhaps if it's the first film of the day you're watching, a fresh watch, then you might be really into it. Like I know there was a couple of occasions where you were like, this probably isn't for me. And
yeah, there was a movie that out of the 12 features I think over the weekend, there was one that I didn't stick around with. It's a little bit of just where you're at, where the crowd's at as well. I think that certain films do fare better at different time slots, and maybe some of the time slots are maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. Certainly by the end of 2 days of this, watching films, and it depends on whether or not listeners, viewers have been to a film festival, and I'm sure many of you have, it's an endurance test, man. It is hard to sit and watch this many films. It's tiring. Like there was a few people, I don't necessarily get mentally exhausted by subtitled films, but there was a few people in the crowd that we were speaking to who came out of 2 French subtitled movies in a row, and you can get a little bit burnt out. And I get it. I can relate. It's tired. It is an endurance test to watch this movie.
You sat those people down and said, "Fucking learn the language, then, fucking baby."
and that's no comment on the quality of the films. The Last Straw was a great way to end it. I think the 2 days, and I'm sorry you guys missed it. I'm sure you'll get a chance to catch up.
We'll catch one screen as we can.
It is a story, another slasher, a very, very well-made little slasher about a sort of all-night diner in Americana somewhere that a young woman is manning alone for the night just by the way that the staffing has worked out, and she gets terrorized, maybe in a sort of fun, jesty way to begin with, by 4 local lads who are up to no good. Yeah, they're having a laugh, but it sort of gets nasty.
Some people, too much or not enough banter.
And
hard to get that balance.
And I'm being really careful with spoilers because you guys will remember, it's lucky we lost the audio. I actually did spoil a little bit when we were in my review of Wake Up. Yeah, in the audio yesterday.
Tried to spoil as many films as he could. Everyone else had to cut the audio. It was fun. It's literally, it's John. It's friend of the show, John Crinan. It's Kevin Spacey actually for the beginning. You'll never guess.
Yeah.
He died at the start, actually. Yeah.
So I'm trying to be very careful because you sort of get into the being used to, or the mentality of, hey, we've all been in the audience together. We're doing spoilerific Q&As afterwards. Like we've all seen it, and I've got to get back into podcast mode. And everyone, we're just talking about,
especially. Sorry, Andy. Especially snatched out. Especially sometimes when, like, some of the most interesting points of the film, the things you really want to discuss, are the things that have so many spoilers. Something that's a real like sticking point or like a real anchor point for some films is like, oh wait, we thought it was this, and actually it was this, and like we do want to share it, but at the same time we want people to see these films and experience them for themselves. So it's like difficult.
Yeah, one of the nice things about The Last Straw is that it does.
No, please. I'm gaslighting myself at this point.
But it does have a nice little structural flair that I can't really go into without going into spoilers a little bit. But it does play with point of view, your point of view character a little bit, which is kind of nice and gives you a little bit more information. It's a really good little gem of a movie, I think. There's so much quality in.
Sorry, we just have to break. The dog has farted and it's fucking awful.
Oh yeah, it just hit me. It's waving across. Axel. Oh gosh.
Oh, it's the dog was Andy. It's the dog, not the dog.
Sorry to take you out of it, John. I was very interested in what you were saying, but my other senses have been absolutely bombarded. And I was really trying to tank that, like a champ.
You'd said something else.
No, I was like, oh shit, what have I said now?
And he's wagging his tail like a fan.
He's looking back. He's looking back and he's smiling. He knows what he's done. We're gonna keep on powering through.
So you were saying,
dog, by the way,
not a character from one of the films we watched. They can be two things. But yeah, as you were saying,
I think one of the characters in one of the films was called Axel.
Yeah, and another
Ricky.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, sorry, right, of course. Yeah, I remember that whole conversation.
Just total brain fart moment. This is day 3, essentially.
Yeah.
So
anyway, John, you were saying there is an interesting structure in this movie before we were so literally as rudely as you can be interrupted.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is it's kind of difficult to fault any of the movies really technically, like the level of filmmaking like technical craft, like everything looked great, everything, a lot of the performances really suffering through this.
Got me.
Sorry. Like, the quality of craft on display, especially technically, lighting, how these films look is very difficult to fault now. Because we've all got the ability to make great looking films, essentially in our
even on
phones
an independent
nowadays.
budget,
Even
right,
on small budgets, yes. Everything looks great. So it's really, when you're reviewing them now, it's really a question of what you connect with it in a way. Like, it's kind of difficult to fault unless it's a real howler that something goes wrong in. I don't know where I'm going with that point.
It's a good point there, because I think, like, as you mentioned, there was one film that didn't connect with you, and I would probably put it in my top 3 based on the connection I had with it. So I think, the festivals like this are something for everybody, something for everybody to kind of connect with. And I think, as the organisers have mentioned, it's kind of like a mixtape of films, isn't it? So that if you don't connect with one thing, the next thing you might. If you don't connect with something about generational trauma, hard-hitting post-natal depression 1 minute, there's Invisible fucking Angelo next minute. So it's one or the other, isn't it? That's what behind.
He's not invisible.
Kind of translucent, skeletal. Yeah. I was.
Yeah, I'm going to find out.
So what was the final thought on Last Straw? Would you say?
I think it's good. I liked it. Yeah, it's not up there in my top films of the fest, but as a way to end it, it's perfect. You know, it's late. These last screenings are late. You know, I'm an old man and I go to bed early. So starting a film like past 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock is insane to me. But I've done it for the last 2 nights. What was the last one? Oh, Kill Your Lover was the last one. A short, like, snappy, you know, perfect runtime for that time of night. And Last Straw is a great way to finish it as well, because it feels like a little bit like Wake Up. It's a slasher which feels like a sort of crowd-pleasing genre. Like, it might not be everyone's favorite, and I guess, of course, there are people who don't like slashers, but sort of everyone, we all like, you can all put on a slashers and have a couple of beers.
To a cross between like a slasher but like a home invasion thing as well, isn't it? Bit of both. I guess Wake Up kind of is. I know it's not a home essentially, but like they're coming into somebody else's
a working
environment, and this guy is going.
Interesting name though as well, because you'd imagine of all places, a diner, and all that diner, probably loads of straws.
Probably
Shot on his set.
Chockers. When the woke liberals have come and taken all, maybe had paper straws for the environment. They all got wet. You think? I guess that's what it. I guess that's what comes up with it. This is a real thick milkshake. This paper straw is not cutting it. You have to buy a premium one. Even there's metal straws you can buy.
I was going to say about talking about all you need is death. But how much longer have you got?
I don't know. What time is it?
past. You probably want to. In that case, then we'll talk all you need is death in your voice, John. But for now, if you're giving, and we can label this, I'm speaking for Ben, mocking.
I will just say I loved All You Need Is Death. I'm just going to say that I did really positive about that one. It's high up on the list.
That's out loud, but pressure. What is taken away? Someone comes up to you in the street and goes, "Oh, friend of our Hangout podcast and renowned writer and filmmaker John Crinan. What are your? I've just got access to all of the FrightFest Glasgow back catalogue, but I've only got time to watch 1, possibly 2, if I don't speak to my family today. What am I gonna watch? What are your 2 recommendations?
I mean, my top one. I'll just come in with my top one straight away. We've already mentioned it. If you had said to me before going into the 2 days of FrightFest that my favourite film of the festival was going to revolve solely around a dinosaur that it is never really on screen, no one can see it, it doesn't exist, it's invisible, I would have said, I don't think that's right. But it was an instant, immediate classic. We had sat through how many hours of films by the point that we had gotten to Invisible Raptor, and if they had just hit rewind and we'd played it again as soon as the credits rolled, I would have been very happy.
Yeah,
it was so good. It was so surprising, and that's the great thing about the mixtape kind of structure. Is like you never know what's going to be the thing that connects with you, the thing that just is. Yeah, it was just a breath of fresh air in the middle of what day one, the first day. It was so good. I will write more about it myself because we don't have a whole lot of time. You could easily do a whole episode about Invisible Raptor.
Yeah, 100%.
It is wall to wall, like genuinely laugh out loud funny.
Yeah.
Every performance is, everyone just brings it. I cannot say enough good things about it. I really loved it. And then I would also total mix it, like it couldn't be any more different. But I really loved Custom.
Now you see everything.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, nothing's invisible. It's all out there to see. A kind of psychosexual headfuck, trippy movie that I need to see again, simply to better kind of understand and like piece together what's happening. Not that it's super confusing or complex, but just it needs to be. If we'd hit rewind and press play on that one, I would have been happy again, because it's kind of one that I think is going to benefit from multiple viewings for a completely different reason to Invisible Raptor. But yeah, those two, I would tell that imaginary person, that invisible person maybe on the street, to go see them, and I would go with them. I would join them so that I could see them again.
You've got access to these films. Take me along.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, John, we will let you get your train back home, then imagine.
Thank you.
Straight to bed.
I am exhausted. I don't know if I've made any sense.
No,
I'm so tired.
No cinema trip tonight for you?
No, I think we're going to have to.
Not 3 hours of June 2?
I think we're going to have to take a night off tonight, maybe.
Holby City, straight to bed.
Maybe not even that. I don't even have the brain for Holby.
Fine. Episode of Doctors. It's gone. Yeah, Doctors isn't on it. They're not making Doctors. I'm paying my license fee anymore. No Neighbours. No. Sorry, everybody, to end on this sour note. But no, it's never a sour note when John's on. Thank you so much.
What a treat to be on the same sofa as you both as well.
Sofa.
We're sort of like crushed in a little bit. My knees, I don't know if anyone even knows what's going on with this lump.
We'd sit more naturally if we went all trying to stay in frame of a camera as well.
But it is lovely. We don't get to spend enough time together in person.
You will definitely have to join us for a full episode. I think it's been a while that you've been on a full episode.
I'm ready.
With the three of us.
Yeah. I think Aaron Truss has been overtaking your number of guest appearances. We're going to have to
Can't have that.
Can't accept.
We cannot have that. Let's right that wrong.
I feel like we're starting a rivalry between them right now. Aaron, I've never met you.
Aaron, I'm sure you're lovely, but I'm coming for your title.
Okay. Thanks so much, John.
Thank you very much.
Bye for now.
Right, we are officially in the studio, in the household, in the abode of Andy Conduit-Turner. My first time here.
All right. What's your review so far of this one?
Lovely. It's great that there are a couple of little dogs running around, which is a great addition to any household.
I feel like listeners to the show probably have heard them in the background for many years at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And I have I have met them before, but most of the time I identify them by sound alone. It's been lovely. Thanks again, of course, for your hospitality.
Officially on the podcast.
Couples of teas.
Official
piece of the toast.
Yeah, we've done all right. I think we had a lovely time, and it's nice. At the time of record, it's a lovely Sunday evening. Ben and I are preparing for an early start for flights to various parts of the world tomorrow morning. FrightFest it is tomorrow. Literally FrightFest tomorrow morning. Ben returning home. I've got some work overseas, so we're off.
Jet setting, man. Jet setting.
I know.
What a life you're living. All over the place. Glasgow, another capital city. I won't.
Docs, no, I'm going to Paris. That's pretty big. I'm not sure they'll. And also, by the time this comes out, I'll be home again.
Yeah, you will. Exactly. There we go. So we were just going to take the opportunity to discuss some of the films that we've seen at the festival we haven't discussed yet. You will have already heard our interviews with some of the filmmakers from these films, but this is us putting our thoughts down on record.
Yeah. Wrapping up for the films we haven't got to talk about before, and we're going to begin in that sense, chronologically for the films we haven't talked about yet, but at the end of our first night, our midnight movie was Kill Your Lover.
Is our recommendation?
That's where we might begin. I'm recommending they kill that. I think I said this at the time, just run in. It's not a piece of advice. Don't validate. If you've got problems with your lover, just break up with them.
Yeah, so again, this was kind of like a representation of a toxic relationship over time. I mean, a very physical manifestation of a toxic relationship, as well as like an emotional sort of like character study between these guys. And it kind of went in a bit of a, what would you say the special effects represent? Again, not trying to spoil anything. But...
It brings out the physical manifestation of them both becoming not just toxic to one another, but genuinely toxic people to be around, right? Through this relationship.
Yeah. And I always feel like it could have been more toxic, though. Don't you? Like, I mean, I know it was toxic. There was some levels of it that were toxic, but I kind of hoped it would go in a more like mean-spirited route.
Even them losing, because they're kind of still themselves throughout the movie, right? They're still talking intelligently, and before we knew the crux of the film, you may be forgiven for thinking it starts if it's going to be like a zombie movie, right? Almost.
Yeah, almost like a zombie movie. I kind of felt like that was the direction it was going to go in, but I guess it kind of does. It's almost like that toxic side is coming out physically and is being passed on between these two people, and I guess I think the representation of a relationship breaking down over time was quite realistic.
Yeah, that was, I think, the way it's represented in dialogue. Well, no matter what you think of the physical metaphor that it then goes into, I think the dialogue they use to put those pieces across, there are some genuine moments there, and I think that's something that people can reflect on watching the film as well. Like, they're together, but are either of them happy? It's not like one feels this breakup, but even though one of them is more set with holding the relationship together because that is what they want to happen, the other one is thinking, you're actually not happy either, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that side of it is realistic, but I think all I wanted was, I think it was good. I think I wanted it to go maybe one step further, and in terms of like something that was sort of advertised as this sort of like punk rock, late night toxic relationship breakdown. Like, it's called Kill Your Lover, which is in a way very intense title itself, isn't it? I wanted it to go one step further, which it didn't. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I think I did enjoy it. It just felt like at times maybe a little bit sterile, and I wanted it to be a bit dirtier, a bit grimier, a bit grittier.
Yeah. I mean, I'm giving extra points as well because my two dogs that you mentioned both get name checks in this, in characters that get into an altercation together.
Axel and Ricky appear as characters.
I had to go and catch up with one of the co-directors, Alex, and share that little bit of news with them as well. And in addition to time that I enjoyed the film, because I did enjoy. I think there was a lot of genuine emotion that was brought out in the movie, which I enjoyed. There was also a little bit of levity as well. I see what you're saying with like the punk rock aspect as well, though, Ben, that maybe that could have gone a bit harder for you. But I think especially for a film of its budget, I think I enjoyed a lot of what it was putting out there. So
yeah. I think the actress Paige Gilmore as well, who played one of the titular lovers in Kill Your Lover. They referred to each other as lovers, didn't they? Yeah. Was great. I think she was great. I think she was a very solid performance that I kind of believed all the way through. Interesting. An interesting film for sure. And something that I'd need to give more thought. We did want to catch up with the directors, and I did actually suggest getting on camera to chat about the film a little bit more. We didn't get a chance to do that.
That's because the schedule was so punishing. Hopefully we all
punishing.
Maybe try and catch them.
Yeah,
with the potentially wonders of technology.
We could try and maybe do a little bit of post-festival catch-up with some of the directors we didn't manage to speak to. But overall, I think we spoke to a handful of directors, and that was good because it's probably one of the best parts of these sort of events.
Yeah, I think really getting the context of what people thought when they were creating these movies, and I think that will help us get an extra dimension on this film as well. If we can catch up with them using the wonders of technology, we'll maybe see if we can't sneak in a little.
The wonders of technology.
Yeah, exactly. That was the end of our first night. We retired to lovely Airbnb in just outside of the heart of Glasgow with, I'll say it as well, a delightful Uber driver. He was so entertaining.
Oh, yeah, Uber driver was loving us.
Movies all day.
You can believe it. He was like one of those horror movie fans. He's like, what are you watching horror all day for? I find it funny, not scary.
The thing is, he was so jolly and he was laughing so much. I do believe that genuinely finds everything funny.
I reckon he did. I reckon he's seen Cannibal Holocaust and he's gone, Fleddy, this is very, very funny. I'm enjoyed it.
Shout out to, I don't have your name in front of me now.
He was a lovely guy.
Very nice man. Yeah. Big fan of The Equalizer. So, in his honour, go and watch The Equalizer.
In his honour, Denzel, this one's for you. So, I mean, we obviously already discussed Mom.
We discussed Mom out in like a corridor that we're in.
Out in a corridor where doors just kept open no matter which direction we were facing, which, I think we were probably in the way a bit, but
so...
It was a very close quarters environment.
The Wild West.
Close quarters environment. Well, at one point, I need to talk about the toilet situation. Right, this might be an incredibly boring segue in the movie. However, I've never felt the need to not even felt the need. I've never had to pee in such close quarters with people in my life. We're talking like a revolving door of people coming in needing to go to the toilet, and the smallest space to squeeze through in order to stand at your urinal.
It was like
And
an
that means
L-shaped toilet.
I mean, someone's like literally leaning on you while you're peeing. And despite the fact that you needed to move quickly, people are in there giving their hands a good old wash. I'm talking like 30 seconds plus. I think
Sing Happy Birthday 5 or 6 times.
give it a rinse and move on. That's what I say. Not your knob. Don't do that. Do that, but not in a public toilet. Again, sorry, terrible segue. But after Mom, we did watch a movie called The Funeral, which was like a Turkish horror film with, again, not trying to spoil things, a sort of undead girl who potentially could be a vampire or a zombie or possessed situation. It was never really made explicit. But
quite lonely, and I think this is from the synopsis, so no spoilers, that the creators aren't willing to give. Kind of a lonely funeral director driver who is basically tasked with, like, a shady sort of counterpart. This body needs to disappear for a while. Take this woman and lose yourself for a month. We'll pay you well. And he's tasked with taking this body, and then moments later, again, this is just a full setup of the movie, he's finding himself in this motel just basically killing time while he waits out the time until he's been told he can safely deliver this body after something has come to light. And he just hears like a raspy breathing sound.
Breathing sound. And it seems that the girl, who had been dead for a number of days already, is not dead at all. She's alive, and I don't think it's in some sort of terrible oversight by the morticians. It's supernaturally tinged.
There's something going on with the supernatural.
Something spooky.
There's some marks on a body, very body of Jane Doe kind of thing. There's some histories about the body. There's something uncanny about it. I see what else is uncanny. That cleaning cloth that he has.
What? Just like cleans everything. Just like a scrub daddy.
There's a woman covered in blood, literally seeping wounds. He gives that a little wipe down.
Cloth.
She's good. There's no whack a jumper and a beanie out on her.
He does whack a jumper and a beanie out on her. I know some people didn't really like this, but I liked it. I thought it was a good slow burn. It felt like a character study. It reminded me of Let the Right One In places where like somebody's looking out for this otherworldly, strange being, and almost like, again, not crazy big spoilers, but like seeking out food for this creature or person to eat. So Let the Right One In. I know some other people. I think the final 20 minutes maybe lost me a little bit because I felt like we were going to get some answers, and perhaps the answers that we did get weren't necessarily what I expected, or I don't think it didn't give enough. But I think in terms of visuals, it looked great. There was some stuff in the snow, bits where she was covered in blood, like all over her face, and then there was like the snowy environment. There was some masked men who looked a bit like Slipknot.
Yeah,
we're talking like recent Slipknot masks where one of them looks like he's got a tortilla for a mask. They all looked a bit like that, tortilla face.
Very
people.
Sort of PlayStation mascot, all sack boys.
Very sack boy.
Big game of Little Big Planet.
I feel like now, again, I don't want to feel like when you watch a lot of independent horror and you watch a lot of films back to back, there are a lot of thematic or choices made that I feel like a lot of these films steer into very easily. Some sort of cult where everyone's got a mask and everyone's got flaming torches. Happens a hell of a lot. It's almost like that is the reason to. And I don't disagree with that or find that not a very good plot device. But when it starts to get into that, because we've seen it so much, when it starts to get into that zone, it's got to be really good for
it's got to take you.
Yeah, and I feel like when there's just nameless people who were in a cult, and you know what, a cult was behind this all along. That's not always satisfying for me, and that is why I would say the final 20 minutes feels like I'm spoiling it, but at the same time, I'm trying to explain why I didn't think it was a perfect film. It's certainly up there. It's probably up there within my top 3 or 4 of the festival, but at the same time, it didn't quite stick the landing.
Didn't quite like really scratch that itch for you. But yeah, I think it was an interesting film. I think audience reaction might have been a little bit driven by the fact that it was midway through, and I just say it's quite a slow burn one, which can be really, really effective.
And we'd already seen a couple of films that were quite extensive. We'd already seen like 2 subtitled films that day, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, I think it was the second movie of
Second
that
day. Oh, okay, yeah, of
Second
course.
movie, we watched a lot of subtitles
Yeah.
the previous day, and it was after we watched Mom, which emotionally was quite a...
Yeah, starting the day
by design, was quite an emotionally draining film.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that might have taken the energy from some people, but so, and that's part of the challenge is that it's not a critique of the organization, because you have X number of minutes of film that you're trying to get into
and the balance is difficult,
those number of days. So, the schedule is set by how fast you need to get those things through. So it's a lot to get through those ones. Would some people that we spoke to that didn't gel with it so much have gotten better with it if it was you're watching one film? You're watching one film this evening.
That's what I said. That's what I said when we were talking to John. I was almost like, in the context of a film festival, when it's like when you're watching 6 movies that day, it can be like a bit. Maybe you're closed off to actually accepting the themes of this film, and you're not as understanding or accepting about certain things. But if you were to watch that film separately on its own in a different environment, maybe you would be more open to it. But I mean, what did you think of The Funeral? Did you like that one?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like, I think by and large, I enjoyed everything I saw over this weekend. There wasn't anything that was like, it's boring.
You didn't see anything disgusting that made you go, this is an absolute disgrace to cinema.
I had to call an ambulance. I was too poorly.
You're too poor.
No, I enjoyed everything. I think for me, you're right about any criticism that maybe it could have been paced up a tiny little bit with, I think I got the slow burn effect, and then maybe I would have just that midsection a little bit. We get the impression of what's happening now. Maybe we would have sped that a little.
It needed a montage, didn't it? It needed a montage of them getting to know each other.
A humorous montage
Of like her killing and eating people, him having a laugh and a joke, cleaning it with the cloth.
Very good cloth. Tell you what, if he's not a funeral director, he should be a
cleaner. Glove.
Yeah,
Barry
exactly. Scott out there.
Although I did keep thinking, we're chopping up this body like in the middle of the room and then cleaning afterwards. There's a bathtub. Just get whoever in the bathtub before we chop them up. I'll never got experience with chopping anyone up.
Scratch the enamel though, do you, with the chopping?
I guess not, but still.
He's a cleaner, not plumber.
He's a man of many skills.
There's a lot going on. I think it was enjoyable. It's very difficult to say that you don't necessarily get the same feeling of the sort of dynamic nature of the character involvement. I think when it is in a language that you don't naturally speak and you're having to rely on subtitles, it's hard to gather some of those. But there's clearly a fondness there, certainly from our lead character.
Yeah.
And it's by nature the fact that there is a non-verbal undead girl that can't really speak. It takes a little time to see their relationship.
I'm not sure how many Turkish horror movies I've seen before.
No, not sure.
So
maybe the first,
Maybe the first, yeah. So I'm kind of thinking, I've probably seen some shorts from Turkish filmmakers, but this for me, like, it did feel oddly Scandinavian. I think that's why it reminded me of Let the Right One In. So it was quite like, these places were quite desolate, almost like some places they were going were quite run down. That didn't necessarily mean I'm associating that with those countries. I'm associating that with the story they're trying to tell in those countries. I guess that, like, I felt a connection to that in terms of what we saw in Let the Right One In, like where they were sort of staying, where they were trying to, like, these desolate places that they were trying to keep out of public eye, for example. So yeah, that's how it reminded me. What was I
just had to check on the list there. After we saw that, and links to some other films we saw as well. We saw Custom after this.
Custom, yes. So previously, we've already had an interview with the director and one of the stars of Custom, and obviously John Crinan has mentioned his thoughts on it already.
John Crinan, it was one of John's picks of the.
Of course, yeah.
I think we've spoken to one of the producers, Andy Edwards, director of Punch. We didn't catch him on camera this time. We will hopefully catch up with him when our schedules connect. But
we were spoken about getting him on for a full episode as well.
It was Andy's name that got this one our attention. The first was right.
Yeah,
Andy has been promoting that he's the producer of this movie. Really, really interesting was Custom. So to set the scene, it really dives into sex work and almost like the OnlyFans generation, right? Where people are buying from adult performers customized sex videos.
Yeah.
And there is a couple who basically have set up, legally distinct from not OnlyFans in everything but name, right? They've set up an OnlyFans account to support their artistic careers that don't necessarily make them a living wage.
Yeah.
So they've set up.
And they think they're almost adding a bit of an artistic flair to this.
Yeah.
And that's not to say sex work can have an artistic flair, but they're very much about that.
Yeah, and they say that in the intro. They show their intro when they first begin in this world. Hey, like I'm a photographer.
Yeah.
My partner's like a video maker.
A video man.
It is that way around, isn't it? She's a video man. And these aren't paying a bill. So to do these things, with adding this that you can subscribe and you can watch us have lovely sexy times. But if you want custom videos, then that's a service we can provide. And they are basically approached by
attracts the attention of a shady
sort of
a shady
Andy McNabb type. He's got a disguised voice.
And his kink is like analog technology, essentially, isn't it? So like he's like, I don't want it filmed in 4K. I don't need it looking absolutely perfect.
I want it to look like 8mm.
I want it to look like I want it on VHS. I'm going to send over the
instruction
for how to do it. This is what I want, and it's kind of like
very well, right? So it pays them
$10,000
a scene.
$10,000 a scene depends. It depends what it is. We can go bargain, but I think it depends. And it seems like how it plays out is that they don't even really remember what they're filming anyway.
Yeah, so
it's not like unbelievably like hardcore sexy stuff. It is very much like it's quite dreamlike, isn't it?
Yeah, I think therein lies the challenge of making this film, right? Because I asked the question at the Q&A about it, like how do you go about research this and treading the right line between what's really available in the world of these adult films, asking people to do these custom videos. And if you listen to John Ronson's podcast, The Butterfly Effect, this is academic corner here. Really, really interesting. It talks about the impact on pornography when Pornhub basically made all of this content freely accessible to people, right? It wasn't like you were having to subscribe and pay for a website. You can do these things. This is probably another one of these butterfly effect impacts that now, because your standard produced porn is super accessible, it's become algorithmically generated. There are trends that people follow, and then people have progressed to sort of asking performers that they like and being willing to pay for them to make specific personalized things for them. And this kind of leads into this one. But the challenge,
can you make me a video where you eat all pack of custard creams?
I bet that exists.
Start to finish.
I bet it exists.
But only the cream.
Difficult. It's getting harder.
Yeah,
it's $10,000.
That's $10,000 right there.
But yeah, this is where the challenge is for the filmmakers, in that making a film like this is obviously there are all kinds of niche and specific, and as you say, like artistic representations of adult filmmaking that you can make. But you're making a film which is, even it's for a genre audience, it's still a regularly classified film that will get a rating for public consumption. You are not making, you're not making a porn film, right?
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to walk that line of alluding to the extremity of what's going on without it actually being an explicit movie.
Yeah, I guess because talking about the sex scenes, right, is because there were lots of sex scenes in Kill Your Lover, and they were all like, I mean, it didn't strike me as the kind of sex scenes where I was going to watch them and go, wow, that's intense. That's like sex I ain't having, mate.
In a cinema.
In a cinema. Exactly, but there was lots of sex scenes, but it was almost like a repetition of the same sort of sex scene. And whether that was supposed to be representative of that relationship, that like, oh yeah, they started off having all this sex, but even now they're kind of still doing the same sort of sex, but they're sick of it. Sick of your face. Whereas Custom, I think it was, despite the fact it was a very sexy film, a lot of the sex that was happening was sort of alluded to rather than like physically being carried out. I mean, yeah, it was happening, but they were like close-ups of body parts, lots of people wrapped in VHS
and the things
tape
that they couldn't recall happening, and they won't spoil that for the detail there, but like where they sort of lose track of what's happening. There's more of a supernatural element than I expected to this, actually. It was really interesting in how it played out.
I think it is a well-made film, though. I think, like, in terms of the way it looks, it's probably one of the best ones for me from the festival in terms of the way it looks, just because it does have that sort of sheen to it, and I think it's got the Cronenberg Videodrome, the Gaspar Noé, like, irreversible dirtiness to it.
And the director saying himself that he liked a film that didn't hold your hand. It doesn't ever make it expressly clear. There's things you can take away from the... There are things you can take away from the ending. There are things that you can take away from the story. I think you'll hear an interview with Samantha Steel, one of the stars of the movie. She gives a little bit of an explanation of one of the takeaways that she had. Yeah, it's almost strange to think that the star would have potentially a different takeaway to what the director would intend, and I guess everyone's going to have a different experience with it, which is interesting. I think that makes it probably one of the most thought-provoking films in the festival. Yeah, I mean, recommendation-wise, if you like your Cronenberg Lynch films, if you like a bit of surrealism, if you don't need a film that holds your hand, if you're coming in there and you want it was this person, this is what happened, spelled out, maybe you won't get everything you want, but
which tends to happen occasionally, unfortunately. What's next?
Well, after that, apologies, all the coughing, guys. Ever so cool this talking.
Let me continue to talk while you give that rest. Give that rest a little voice. That's not a good sentence. Give that voice a
little voice, and you begin to tell me if you want to do the song from "All You Need Is Death" perfectly.
Oh yeah,
I'll be right back.
So we did. we "All You Need Is Death." We did have a little laugh and a joke because it's a very, very well made, very serious film. It's kind of like got Ben Wheatley vibes, folk horror vibes, Irish film. Obviously, if you listen to this episode, you've already heard us talking to the director, Paul Duane, and also the star, Charlie, as well. So it is a very well-made film that kind of has that sort of... And there's no dogs in it. Is there a dog in it? There might be a dog in it. But All We Need Is Death. It was about these people who are going around collecting songs, like artifacts, essentially, and almost like the magical properties of these songs.
Especially like, oral histories, folk stories, the songs passed down by generations. They're not written or recorded. And that's something that they were really chasing after.
It was alluding to like the potential rareness of these things, and like as the story unfolds, it's like the potential supernatural powers of these songs. And we were having a little joke about what the song could sound like, because she was about to open her mouth and sing this song that had never been heard or hadn't been heard for years, and only women can hear it. And we were like, if she starts singing Scatman, like, we would have, of course, it was a very serious film.
Change the tone of the movie.
It would
change why they didn't go in that direction.
I can see why they didn't go in that direction. But yeah, it was kind of it was a weird film, and yeah, it did remind me of Ben Wheatley stuff in terms of there is sort of like a revenge plot in the center of it as well. And I know Kill List hasn't got necessarily a revenge plot, but I suppose they are going after a list of people to murder. Yeah. But there's a revenge plot of a character who turns up like halfway through the film and looks a bit like Sam Neill, doesn't he? He's definitely giving me Alan Grant vibes. Sam Neill currently vibes, not Sam Neill, Jurassic Park vibes. And also the older woman from the recent Texas Chainsaw movie was like one of the keepers of this song and performer of this song.
And it's like really powerful, and like it sounds like when we spoke to the team behind it, well, this was in the Q&A, they did this properly, and the song that she sings at that point is in Old Irish, so that predates what is commonly used, what is now used.
Finger Boys. It's Finger Boys in Old Irish.
Predates Finger Boys by a long way. She does not sing an Old Irish version of Boom 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 Boom.
But she does Regard to Ibiza instead.
Whoa! Back to the island.
Back to the
not that one. But yeah, it is really interesting. Like, they really did go and they had this professionally translated to get the language exactly right, and then they could learn it and perform it.
And then it started to just by hearing the song out loud, it started to
men who aren't allowed to hear it.
Men aren't allowed to hear the song. What songs could men potentially not be allowed to hear? Would you say?
I wouldn't have heard them.
You might have heard of them somewhere.
Venga Boys as well.
I've heard those.
I've heard those.
Everyone needs to know, and like that's a warning for our generation. That's not for whom the Venga bus comes.
That's true. The Venga bus comes. That sounds like
it comes for thee.
It comes for the. That's a horror version of the Venga Boys. I would enjoy. Confusing. Not all boys. The Venga Boys, are they?
It confuses the spectrum.
It is a spectrum.
Yeah. But in this film, no Venga Boys in it. It's very serious. I should. Yeah, and it is. It's
a very stylish film as well. I mean, I will say. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. But even the way like the titles appear on screen, they kind of appear like almost like backwards, like going. Everything's kind of like not what you would particularly expect to see cinematically, which is good. I like that. I like the fact that it's unique. It's got this kind of like unique side to it, and some really interesting characters that kind of like just keep turning up. When that like old guy in a wheelchair who's like buying the song and.
Yeah,
there were lots of just odd, strange characters from like that felt very realistic to like these sort of rural areas in Ireland, and other characters who were like so bizarre. It was strange, but yeah, I mean, again, don't want to spoil anything, but there is a particular. Again, this was another film that was going in a direction like I don't know where it's going at all.
Yeah, and it constantly surprised. I would have not thought at the beginning stage that the characters would team up and split around in the way that they did, and who would be allied with whom. By the end, it was really, really interesting. And we'll also hear our interview with the director and one of the stars of the film as well. Really, I can see why that kind of story would get its hooks into you and get you become a real passion project for them.
Definitely.
So definitely, of all the things, like especially if you like your more. You like your folk horror, if you like your surreal cinema. And actually, FrightFest, certainly even the years that we've been attending, I think has had some really good representation of Irish cinema. Because the team shared in the Q&A, there isn't a great deal of funding available for them. It can be hard to access. It's if it's in like, especially if it's.
Were we saying You Are Not My Mother? Was that right?
You Are Not My Mother is an Irish film. We had the Glenarma tapes last year, and last year as well. So there are some really great independent Irish filmmakers working out there right now. What we heard in the Q&A was that from a funding perspective, the films that tend to be funded are the ones which a board or a committee can see a link between a film that they're already familiar with and do well. They gave the example of, The Babadook was a good
example.
Good example, and the head was, I don't want to make The Babadook. I want to make something else.
Yeah, I want to make All You Need is The Babadook.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we had here. Something that's interesting, something that's different. You'll get a lot from this, and some really good performances as well. Some good physical performance, some really good vocal performances. Not only,
oh my god, yeah,
not only in.
I'm assuming that like a lot of these people were like
able to sing as well.
Were able to sing as well, but like a lot of the people that were performing these songs were potentially like real life musicians or real life members of the community who happened to be able to perform these songs. It felt like that kind of film where. Of course, it is an entirely made-up story, as we found out. But if you would have turned around and told me it wasn't a made-up story, it was an Irish legend, I think it had enough substance to it that I would have easily believed that.
I think we also heard that during the Q&A as well, that basically we're saying we created this story, completely fictional, and then after we did it, it turned out, this is like a real thing.
This is actually word for word exactly the same. If you hear this song, you immediately shit your pants. Now that's very nice. What?
That's not what happens.
That's not what happens.
If anything.
Worse. Yeah, probably worse.
I mean, and that was between us a little bit unchronologically. Oh, tell you what, there was a short that we watched. Touch on that as well.
Subject 73.
Yeah.
What did you say?
73. Maybe I'm 2 subjects early.
You went for 75, I think.
Yeah, 74, 75.
Not putting words in your mouth, Andy.
We gaslighting on International Women's Day weekend. Put it under your name, massive such for Errington.
You keep saying that. I feel like you need to stop saying that because I'm worried it's going to go one step too far.
The little stick.
Yeah, you throw enough shit in the wall and it will eventually
what
something will stick.
Before to save you an editing job.
Spit out.
Save you an editing job. What I will say is, I say that because you wind your friends up the most when you say things that they're not. But if I'd have called him,
Not true. Not true. If I would have called him, it's the things that hit hardest. What were we saying? Oh, yeah. So we've not, in a non-chronological order,
we've touched on everything. We did.
Subject 73.
Subject 73 or 5.
Like a moral tale of, if you press this button, it'll hurt someone, but your bank account will get hefty.
Yeah.
But if you press this button, a cautionary tale, I guess. And,
there's a fun little story.
Yeah. And again, like this festival, I think there have been a couple of shorts. We did miss one. We saw this one. There haven't been like short film showcases. There haven't been them.
Easy for me to say.
Easy for me to say. So in a way, I mean, I don't know if I could have done it. Did you see? Could you have done it?
Short film showcases
at any point?
Oh, could I physically got there? I mean, when would I have found the time?
Yeah, if it was instead of another film, of course. But then, yeah.
When would you have cut those? Yeah, when would you have cut those out? And I don't think our second day started at like 10:30 in the morning. Like, if it had been like, right, lads, 9 a.m. come and join us for an hour of short film showcases, then
you'd have said, shan't.
Yeah, I'd have been. I'm very tired, everybody. I got back at 2 yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think we absorbed an awful lot of films. John was there to catch us like a lovely trust ball when
he was there to cover the films we missed. Yeah,
so between us, that's an entire festival, which can naturally
and of course, our first time at FrightFest Glasgow. This is the third time we've covered the festival, but the first time we've done it in person. I congratulate you for you. Congratulations to you and to you and to me and to me too. Congratulations to me, of course. Well, this is a bit aggressive. So yeah, we want to do like some sort of awards. We usually do pick our best, and we've done that for the last for FrightFest in London. So we want to just quickly choose some. I think we're going to choose best film, but we'll probably do a little rundown. So maybe the top 3.
Yeah, do a top 3
before we do. Do we do best film? Should we just save that for last?
Save it for last. Come on,
that's the main event. Best director, for example. Did you have any thoughts with that?
Best director, and I will have to excuse myself while I make sure I pull the correct.
Okay, so I'll say mine while Andy does that. So I think I'm going to go for Tiago Teixeira for Custom. And the reason being, I think it was the most well-realized vision of anybody in terms of the films I saw. There were plenty of films where the direction, the quality of the direction was great. Cinematography was awesome. And clearly these are talented filmmakers making these films. However, this felt like, especially after speaking to him after the film, it felt like he really knew and understood and like what he wanted to succeed, what he wanted to achieve, with Custom. So Tiago, I think I'm going to give you best director because this is his first his first feature as well. He's directed multiple shorts before this, but the fact that he's directed this is his first feature is very, very accomplished. So Tiago Teixeira for Custom, best director from me. You got any thoughts, Andy?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to play a game on this one where I don't do any repeats.
Okay.
I'm not going to sit and play a game on the phone while you're doing these.
At one point as well, there was a moment in one of these films where someone said, let's play a game. It's called the yes and no game. I'll ask you a question. You say yes or no. I'm like, game?
And then he asks him a question that you can't answer yes or no.
Yeah, and then the third game. Is he dead? No, of course he is. Yeah, it was like the first question was like a yes, the second question was a no, and then he asked him like an open-ended question. It's like, you, the person who's brought the game to the table, are actually disrespecting the rules of the game. I think you don't even know the rules of the game.
But do you want to just play 20 questions? You can say yes, no, or just a short answer.
Yeah, just a short answer, maybe a sentence or two. So no repeats. That's probably a good idea.
No repeats. Otherwise, I feel like my best director and best kill and things like that, we're all going to run into a film that I really, really enjoy.
That's true.
Which I think just gets an all round.
Okay, so who's your nomination?
No repeats. I'm going to nominate for specific best director. I'm going to go to a film I enjoyed called The Deep Dark, which we talked about the other day.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to get a spoiler here. I'm looking at your face.
Matthew Turi,
yes,
the French director. I really liked the cast that was put together in that one. If you're going to burn me by saying best cast now, because that would have been the best.
Of course.
Cast as well.
I've got it. Thank you. You've done it for me. If we're doing no repeats, then
no repeats. So
you've helped me.
They'll get a nod there. I now expect coming up there. But yeah, I really like the dynamics that they were able, the directing was able to bring out in this piece. I love the choice of the setting, like the fact that it's set underground is already immediately terrifying.
So I saw someone say The Descent meets My Bloody Valentine. I guess My Bloody Valentine only because
of mine.
Because of mine.
Yeah.
So I would say The Descent meets. I mean, what other film has got kind of like these?
As a buffet, but also in French, and like going so far below the surface that there is almost an underworld, like a supernatural underworld, but also ancient civilizations. And I really like the aesthetic and everything that was put together in that film, and for a period piece as well. Really good stuff. So
it starts off as like the 1800s, and I kind of thought that was where it was going to be set.
Yeah,
but
I love the song in the beginning as well. Like really good choices. In the 1800 section where they're mining out the coal, they have like a lovely, almost a community moment while they're singing as they work.
Whistle while we work.
It's a more dour song than that, but actually it's about fellowship and so on.
He hates Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
He does.
Like with a passion. Okay, so best director, and then I guess we'll do best cast, and just off the tail end of that, I'll go for the Deep Dark because I think it was a nice varied cast of characters. Again, you had your kind of cliche. This guy's a bastard. This guy, one guy. Do you know what his most? Do you know what his personality trait is?
Fat man.
He's a fat man. That was it. I don't think somebody even said fat. So, but I think in terms of there were a few different nationalities. It was. I mean, it was a sausage fest.
But I say it is an all-male cast driven by the period of time and the location that it was.
Yeah, that's literally it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll go for the Deep Dark for best cast. Have you got any ideas for that?
Oh, for best cast. Tell you what, talk about your favourite director while I remind myself.
I've already done my favourite director. Of course you have. But I can carry on if you go on. Okay, you've got it.
Yeah, I think when it comes to cast, let me again, if I'm playing the no repeats rule, I'm gonna go for. I really like some of the work that was done with the casting and the transformation of the characters from Kill Your Lover.
Okay.
Only a small cast. Obviously not just picking this because two of them share names with my dogs.
I don't know, mate. It sounds like
I think really, really cool transformative stuff between the two periods of their lives that we see them.
Yeah.
So they have to kind of play variants of the character. They have to play the sort of their external selves and then what they're like when they're broken down and things aren't going their way and things are really terrible for them as well.
Yeah.
And even the supporting cast members are there's the friend that's there trying to give some support who's only in it for a little while. Those paramedics who are with us that sort of help drive this along a little bit.
Paramedic.
But I think this relationship again, any big credibility to anything that has such an intensity of carrying these things together in a very tight enclosure. In many ways, I'm going to cheat and give a nod to something else.
Sounds like a big cheat to me.
Yeah, big cheat.
I've already thought. I'm thinking about other stuff. I'm already thinking I can't limit it to one per film.
You can't.
I can't.
You got to break. You break. Well, it's all right then. Everyone gets everything.
I can't. I shan't.
I'm going to say then. I'm also going to give a nod to the cast for You'll Never Find Me as well for those very same reasons. Well, this is why it's not cheating because for the same reason, really contained in that pressure cooker situation, carrying it.
But what is your choice? That's a nod, but your choice is Kill Your Lover.
Yeah, I'm going to go Kill Your Lover. I'm not taking it back. It's like the weakest link. You can't say I'm changing my vote.
I'm actually changing my vote to you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna. That's what I'm gonna go for there.
So I guess off the back of best cast, best performance, have you got any ideas for that?
Best performance.
I mean, right. I'm gonna have to choose someone from The Invisible Raptor because
if we broke it, if we're now allowed to repeat, that's what's getting it for me. As well.
Can you just confirm a name for me on your? So I mean, obviously Mike Capes. We've met Mike Capes. He's a lovely man. I told him he's got big Ryan Reynolds energy. And you know what? I'm not even a big fan of Ryan Reynolds, so I would say it made me sort of
like Ryan Reynolds more.
Like Ryan Reynolds more by thinking about this. I mean, Mike Capes, unbelievable amount of charisma on the screen. It really comes across. He really leads the film well. He brings everybody together. But I'm not going to choose Mike Capes for best performance.
Oh, you're not?
I'm not going to because there is a particular performance of a particular character. Now, some of the jokes that this character makes, delivered by any other actor, could potentially fall flat. they could potentially fall flat.
Yeah, that's
But,
true.
I would say that Danny Danielson,
Whose name is not listed on the letterbox thing, so I'm just
okay,
having-
we'll get confirmation. Sorry, it's been a lot of information, a lot of names to remember. I think he brings a certain something. So it's a story. It's a very silly performance. Yes, very ridiculous, over the top jokes, and some disgusting jokes, But it's a story of friendship. It's a story of trauma. He's had a bad childhood, this kid, that he's still carrying into adulthood.
David Shackelford.
David Shackelford, yes. Yep. And yeah, he was absolutely hilarious and just a joy. And I mean, unfortunately, we didn't really get a chance to speak to him. I think we had a moment where we sort of said congratulations.
We managed to.
It was only Mike
flying out to Dublin for a little holiday.
It was only Mike that we managed to speak to, but I would have liked to chat to him.
We'll hopefully catch him remotely as well, because
I want to give you the mic. Then you got your own.
Such a lovely guy. Really, really positive. Even that quick chat, so warm and really they've worked hard.
A very physical performance as well, And I just think opposite Mike Capes, who I think is just as good, because I think it's two really strong they're essentially co-leads, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're co-leads. It was great, and yeah, I'd love to see more of him, because he just had one of those personas and one of those vibes that just made me constantly laugh. So I'm gonna say, performance-wise, it's David Shackelford as Danny Danielson.
Danny Danielson. No, Ben, now I've set myself this challenge. I'm gonna try and stick with this, and we're talking performances.
Trying to outdo me.
No,
Feels like it.
Trying to play by the rules, Ben.
You're a rule follower. You're a real stickler for the rules. And me, what I'm saying is I give up halfway through anything I set my mind to. That's pretty much what I'm saying, isn't it?
But doesn't give up something halfway through. Someone who I'm gonna give my nod to for some fine acting. And I'm gonna return to the film you nodded to for the director. I'm gonna return to Custom.
Oh wow!
And I'm gonna call. I mean, it's a great co-led movie as well. Both Roman Polanski and Abigail Hardingham, great performances. If I'm picking one, because I've set these rules, Ben, I'm going to call out Abigail, especially on this one, because a really, and she spoke about it quite openly in the Q&A, really, really physical performances, really a lot of vulnerability. We talked about some of the, some of the customized things they've put, and she is put in a very vulnerable position in a lot of those scenes that she's in. So, and I can imagine only for all the things we have with the celluloid Lloyd tape alone must have been quite an ordeal in some of those places, getting these things filmed and getting them onto camera. And I think she manages it incredibly well. And especially with someone who is starring an independent film, a choice that you've probably had to think about very carefully as to going into movie, because what does this mean? How do other people perceive you when they're looking at you for casting and things like that? I think she does a phenomenal job at a performance there. Mm-hmm. And it gets my nod.
There we go.
Some wonderful,
great choice.
Some wonderful acting. But if I was going to break my own rule, I mean, not that I've mentioned Invisible Raptor yet. When's it going to come up? We don't know. But as you've already mentioned, both David and Mike, wonderful and.
Oh yeah,
wonderful performance.
I mean, the performances you wouldn't necessarily always consider when you're nominated a best performance of a horror film festival, but impossible to ignore, I would say. I guess we have to do best deaf. I've only got that listed.
Best deaf/kill.
Best deaf/kill. I would say,
depending on your perspective.
I feel I've only got one in my head. I feel like it was the one you said, so I hate to. We can both do the same. Can we?
We can do it. We'll both do the well, and if there's both of us on it, we can choose one kill each.
Yeah, let's choose one kill each. So the well, I would say, has got to be there for best kill/death, just because the practical effects were great, very gross out, very gory, very blood-soaked. So I would say the well, and the one I'm going to choose. I feel bad if there's one you're going to choose. There's a particular character who is let's say they're nameless. This character's nameless, and they spend a good portion of the film trying to get out of a certain area. And as soon as they manage to free themselves, their face is then torn off. There's a horrible ghoulie, and their face, again, spoilers. There's a horrible ghoulie, and their faces are torn off, and it is gratuitous, in terms of the way the face is torn off. And we love the fact, imagining that while he was trying to get out of this thing for could have been days, the creature was just standing there below the hole, waiting for it to put his face through so he could rip it off.
Yeah, like the tall man once punched through some glass in the Phantasm movie.
Yeah, it was, and it got laughs because of like the, oh my God, I cannot believe, because you kind of like, you are rooting for certain characters to escape, aren't you? Because in these situations you do. So yeah, that was my choice.
I'm also gonna stick with the well and a separate kill on there. I mean, there is a brutal death that we get that involves like a garden fork. I'm sure it's also a torture element, but in our modern lives has like a garden fork element. There is a fairly harsh eye gouging in this as well. I don't want to spoil it by giving names, but there is
a couple of eye gouging.
Absolutely like relentless death. There are limb chops. There's an eye gouging. Lots of things that happen in that one, and all delivered with sickening detail in those practical effects as well.
I'm
going to call that out for my best kills, gory death of the,
good shape
of the festival.
So I guess that's 4 categories. So we need to just a wild card pick before we do our best film. So I mean, obviously we'll do a top 3. So maybe some of that isn't in that top 3.
Okay, so a wild card pick, something that you maybe haven't thought about before. You know what? I gave them a nod as best actors. Let's say this is a wild card pick as well. I was a big fan a couple of festivals ago of Stalker. Again,
of course,
that bottled energy. You're not going to know when things are going in such close quarters. This film, and I'm going to give this one to the wild card on You'll Never Find Me. I enjoyed the mystery of it, the puzzle box unpacking. And this was one where, even though I might say that as we were going through the film, this is kind of ruined by the fact that we, as our hobby, Ben, what we do is we sit and we watch films and we write films and we talk about them and we unpick them. So that's probably spoiled us a little bit in the fact that naturally our instincts have probably been attuned to the end, right, can I work this out? But at the same time, even though I might have ultimately thought about it as we were going through, until it was revealed, I had 3 or 4 different ways. I think, is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? And it really kept me on the edge of my seat, thinking about these things and how it can be done. And I say, really carried by those performances of just a dual lead on that one as well. So I'm going to say that as a little wild card that maybe won't feature in my
good shape.
top choices in a strong field.
Yeah,
but I think it's worth checking out.
Definitely. Okay, so I think my wildcard pick will be the Soul Eater, something we've not really talked about in terms of like our awards or picks or anything like that. I just think it was a good sort of like police procedural with some interesting. It kind of did remind me of the French series The Returned, even though the themes are very, very different.
X-Files-ish, almost.
X-Files-ish in a way, yeah. This sort of like small town mystery. Sort of unfolding, and I guess like as somebody who enjoyed True Detective recently as well, definitely felt like it had those vibes in a way. Like I could imagine that story being stretched over several episodes and still enjoying it. There was like some parts of it where I was a bit like, I'm more interested in this than I am in this stuff. And again, we've already mentioned like cults and masks and stuff. Like it feels like there's a lot of that stuff in the films we've seen this time around.
Dynamic between those 2 characters was really strong as well.
Yeah, and like the fact that these characters clearly had like very complex histories as well.
More than we saw on the screen, hence why it would have carried.
Yeah.
Getting to know them more over time.
Yeah. So yeah, the Soul Eater for me, I would choose as that. And then I guess we should do a top 3 culminating in best film. Do you want to go for number 3 first?
Yeah, so my number 3, we've mentioned it before. I think I'm going to go with Custom as my number 3. A lot to say about the movie. Really will be, I think, really benefits multiple watches. I'm looking forward to seeing it again. And then kudos on them for both trying something and really getting into like a really zeitgeist topic right now that has a lot of controversy and taboos about it that people are really interested in delving into, and getting stuck into it.
Yeah. For my number 3, I think I'm going to go for The Funeral, just because I really connected with the vibe. And yes, it is a slow burn, and perhaps perhaps it's a film that could have easily lost 20 minutes and I could have appreciated it a bit more. I think overall, yeah, Let the Right One In vibes for me, which I really enjoyed. And yeah, I think those performances were good as well. You know, like the central two performances. I know one person didn't have to do loads, but they were still believable as a potentially reanimated corpse. You know, as much as
doing
possible.
a lot without saying anything, right?
Doing a lot without saying anything.
Non-verbal
Yeah,
acting was really interesting. And like just the
100%,
eye movements that she did in those pieces as well.
Number 2,
Deep Dark for me, I think.
nice.
Yep. Again, we talked really strong
Talked about it.
ensemble cast, like really spooky setting. Love the practical effect. Love the lore that it suggests as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, really, really enjoyable film.
nice. I enjoyed that as well. I mean, this is a toss-up for me. I was kind of like thinking one thing or the other, but I'm going to have to go for number 2 as All You Need Is Death, just because it was the last film we saw at the festival, wasn't it? It was the last film we saw at the festival. We didn't get to see Last Straw, obviously, that John has kindly reviewed for us. But for me, like, I was flagging at this point, and I was like thinking, God, I'm incredibly
In
tired.
fact, we almost
It's
said,
been a
just
lot.
as the film was
We
coming
did
out,
almost say maybe we'll skip this one out so we can try and fit in some more interviews. Glad we didn't, because yeah, it was great. In terms of the Ben Wheatley vibes, definitely there. I hope that's a compliment for the director. I hope he's a fan. But yeah, it just felt like it really took care and attention with the sort of themes and all the Irish folklore and stuff, and it felt like it was a film close to the director's heart. So yeah, that's number 2.
And then for number 1, we've pre-discussed this, and if you haven't picked this up from our conversations throughout the thing, like Invisible Raptor really just blew all the what? It was different. You didn't even see that one. Actually, I did see Wake Up the other day, and I've surprised you very much.
I surprised you
Well,
very
we didn't
much.
even know I'd seen. No, the Invisible Raptor, I think, blew us most of the audience away because I think, as we mentioned in the interview, it conjures by name alone, I think, something that automatically lowers people's expectations. So I think it's going to be a silly B movie, and it is. It's silly and it's fun, but it is created with such love and attention and a really, really, really funny script.
Yeah, a hilarious script, like constant laughs and just like jokes that, you know, the jokes that you just keep laughing about because you keep just rethinking them, like giving more thought to them, and like it just keeps delivering over and over again. You're like, that's really smart. And obviously the deep cuts and the references to action movies and like adventure movies and stuff. Of course, the horror elements into a horror film festival like it's got plenty of gore and kills. There's loads of kills. That's the thing. It is a comedy, but there are loads and loads of kills.
Sitting off left, right, and centre. There's no shortage of
Certainly left and right.
yeah, is that left and right?
Whichever way you prefer it.
Whichever way you go for it yourself. But
yeah.
like, there's so much going on in this movie. It's made with really real attention and care and love, and really sensible and nice use of references. Sometimes I can go either way with references to other things. If they become like a shopping list, you know, and people just said, "Hey, I'm aware of this thing that you're also aware of." Like
there was some great, like there was some takes on that were like almost poking fun at how obvious references can be. Like, oh, do you remember this thing from this film? Yeah, I did that. Like with absolutely no detail, because it's like
you do
trying to show how lazy obviously some writing for some films can be when they try and do that.
Yeah,
so.
but incredibly written, so like lovingly made. I wouldn't believe if you told me that anyone on this set didn't have an absolute blast working on it.
And as I said, Mike seems like a really lovely guy, and it's great to see his film getting the recognition and hopefully success it deserves.
I think for me, I know when we did our last festival, we pulled out what would your favourite Hangout movie be.
Oh yeah,
I would look no further.
I don't think you can you? Best Hangout movie. Well done for remembering that. I completely forgot that was a category that we tend to do. Invisible Raptor, 100%. Like, there's absolutely nothing else
when it's available, be it streaming, be it a release. I mean, I would love to see this get a broader cinema release. I think this would be a great one that you could go to. You could, sit in a cinema full of people and just have a good, like, really laugh with a bunch of strangers in there. But even then, like, when this is available for you to watch at home, get a copy, invite your friends round, get pizzas or food of your choice.
Yeah.
And enjoy.
And enjoy the Visible Raptor.
You will not have a bad time.
No, you won't.
With
Unless you're cold, dead.
a serious person for serious times.
It's just you're a cold, dead husk of a person with a callous heart.
Yeah.
And
just no joy in your soul.
no joy in your soul.
But yeah, otherwise you'll have a great time with it. I think definitely of all the films we've seen, and genuinely I have enjoyed everything that we've watched over this weekend. There is nothing that I stepped away from thinking, oh my goodness, yeah, could have watched paint dry for that amount of time. There was something interesting to take away from, and with different horror fans, the guys who put the festival together said it's like a mixtape. If one film isn't for you, the next one will be. And I think you can really come away from that. There are so many different horror fans out there. There is a type of horror fan you could have recommended every single one of these films to. Thinking about some of our previous guests and some of our other friends, I feel like I could go through and text each of them. For you, I would recommend this. For you, I'd recommend that. But I would recommend Invisible Raptor to anyone because it is
anyone and everyone.
So much fun.
Okay, so that is it. That's FrightFest Glasgow covered. Ticked.
Yeah.
Ticked off the list. And we're hoping to, who knows how this year's going to pan out, but we would like to get some more festivals this year to cover them in the same sort of way because it's a fun time.
Yeah, we'd like Dead Northern. We'd obviously, making sure that the ticket release we're quick enough on the buttons. We'd love to be at FrightFest London in August as well.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing all we can to get out there. If you're enjoying this type of episodes in particular, I think special shout out to everyone who supports us on Patreon right now because
100%, yeah.
The support that you give us financially, we do this. Like I would do this show as an excuse to watch a horror movie every week and hang out and talk to my friend Ben and other people about it. I would do it for absolutely nothing, and most of the time we do. But for those of you that do find it in your hearts and wallets to put some money behind the show, it basically means that we can. It basically means that we can get the tickets to these events, put the travel budget aside, without having to think.
I think even if we're not getting that support, we're still going to be doing it. It's just obviously we're thankful for the additional help as well.
It does make it easier to put in the schedule when you also aren't having to think, have I got to find 100% of this?
Yeah.
Of money to go through.
And of course, if there are any UK-based film festivals that you would like us to attend, feel free to let us know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll
give us a shout.
Rather, I'll sing for my supper. You want me to announce something at the same time?
Will you sing an Irish folk song for your supper?
That would be that would be disrespectful. I can't speak Old Irish.
But will you do Scatman?
Yeah.
For your supper?
Absolutely. I mean,
fantastic.
Just bring sandwiches. But
yeah,
like honestly, especially UK-based festivals, if we aren't already aware of you, not on the radar, particularly if you're starting up right now, you had a great time with a new startup festival this year already.
Which one?
Screams by the Sea.
Screams by the Sea. My God, how did I forget about that? We're talking about the World's Film Festival. Screams by the Sea in Bournemouth, of course. I'd love to get down to the next version of that. We know that Gasp is something that's new on our radar.
Going into the second year.
Yeah, Dead Northern, Done Dead, FrightFest again, and then other individual events. I think I'd like to get to other individual events, screenings and stuff, just to chat horror with some horror.
Love to do some more of those things, especially in these independent spaces as well. Seeing what else is coming out there. I hope people enjoy this one. I know it's a more chaotic energy than a normal episode, which is pretty chaotic.
Not as chaotic as FrightFest London, though. That was pretty chaotic. Yeah. We're on the streets. We're in the trenches.
Yeah. And you know what? This is real talk. When you've spent all weekend and you've got to go back to work, I mean, were we living in a world of infinite time, we could have sat down, made a load of notes, and done a really structured episode with this one. But
it's nice to do it. Struck while the iron is hot.
Struck while the iron is hot. And also, got to go and do some work tomorrow, don't we?
We do. You know.
So, yeah, thank you for listening, everybody. I hope this has been another exciting FrightFest episode for you. You're at these events in the future. Come and say hello, boy.
Yeah, come and say hello. And if there are any new listeners as well, I know that we spoke to some people over the weekend who found our podcast for the first time. If they're new listeners, you've enjoyed this episode, of course, now you've got 300 odd episodes to listen to.
Yeah.
So
you had a couple of weeks it'll take you to get through those?
Well, yeah, maybe a week if you're committed.
No, if you listen at 1.5 speed, maybe.
Oh, I don't want to do that. Do you do that?
No, I wouldn't. a bit like just coming out and singing an Irish folk
I listen to Andy at 1.5 speed, but me, I'll maintain my. I don't even know if I can do that. You can do that.
Can you just speed up one person?
Can you speed up one person, please? And the other person slow right down. So they sound like they're doing an Irish folk song. I'm going to stop saying that. But thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening. And of course, guess what? We're back next week.
Next week for Imaginary.
Yeah.
Just us next week, right?
I think so.
Unless we've got an imaginary friend who hasn't seen the film.
Imaginary friend or anyone else decides to tag along. I think it's just us. But yeah, a new film, Imaginary, new Blumhouse movie, which we were talking about going to watch this weekend, but then we decided, you know what?
I've sat in a cinema long enough.
I've sat in the cinema so long that my arse is flat.
I'll watch it in the week. Yeah. Right, sore arse.
I got a right sore arse. I need to go and sort myself out.
Right. Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Bye for now. Happy FrightFest.
Bye-bye.
Glasgow.
Glasgow kissed.